Okay. Gina has spoke out. And this actually is a segue to our the other part of our story here. She just said 17 minutes ago, "This is the beginning and welcome to the rebellion," as she retweeted Ben Shapiro's tweet. So this is it, folks. She has made her move a little sooner than I expected, but hey, it does go along with the theory that I had that this was something that has been kind of brewing for a while. Things have been kind of falling into place in that respect. I don't think this was all something that happened overnight, I think we all kind of suspected as well. So,
yes,
I don't think this was a surprise to Gina, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
no, I don't think so at all. I think that Gina Carano knew that she was not long for Star Wars, or that she strongly suspected it. I think because what we kind of heard is that there was one point where she would be the star of this. What was it called again? Tom, help me out here. The Ranger series. We had been told that at one point she was intended to be the star of it. She and Carl Weathers. However, the most recent rumblings that we've heard is that Carl Urbans, he's really annoyed with
Carl Weathers,
films. Sorry, Carl Weathers, obviously. I'm just thinking of the Carl. Carl Weathers is really annoyed, and he might not want to work anymore with Lucasfilm either. And there's a very good chance that the Ranger series might no longer happen, because that was intended to be the Gina Carano spin-off. No Gina Carano, possibly no Carl Weathers, then there goes the entire Ranger series. And this is something that Disney probably were aware of already in November, which means that they lied to their investors when they went and propped up this Rangers of the New Republic series. How amazing is that? They lied, knowing full well that series might not happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Mecha Phoenix here. I think that Gina Carano is the new Chuck Norris. All Chuck Norris jokes should now be in the form of Gina Carano. Disney didn't fire Gina Carano. Gina Carano fired Disney.
Yeah, and I have to say that I find like some delight in her getting back on her feet this quickly. Now, here's the thing: we don't know how long this thing with the Daily Wire has been in the works. It could have been in the works for weeks or months already, or it could have been Ben reaching out to Gina yesterday, saying like, "Hey, I got a deal for you," and they announce it today. In either event, I was actually kind of thinking that this is one of the things that we spoke about yesterday with Kamran Pasha, that Hollywood is not going to touch her right now because too many of the green lighting people are considered her radioactive, because they would be the one that would be offended by the whole. Jordan Cross says Shapiro called Gina last night. Yeah, I if you know that, then I wouldn't be surprised, because we just learned this right now. But I think it makes perfect sense, because we know that the Daily Wire are already like working on making their own production company. Basically, the Daily Wire, they're doing what we have been saying for a while. What they're doing is that they are doing Comicsgate on film. Kind of like what we've seen many others too, but they can just do it at a really professional, high-end level right away. And they just got Gina Carano in their stable. How awesome is that? That's quite a feather in the hat, I would say. I think.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of the biggest stars right now, and it just makes complete sense. I kind of knew something was brewing, and I figured that there was no way she wasn't going to land on her feet in some way. I didn't know if it was going to be this soon, but I knew she was fine. I wasn't worried for her so much as just the idea that I really do feel like she has some kind of grounds to like go after some people on this, but I know she won't because she's better than that and she doesn't need to. And it just, I hope it does well for her. I hope everything that she does from here on out is just a big smear in the face of Disney. And
Yeah. Well, let's read this article from Deadline Hollywood so that we get caught up as well. So everyone, this is as breaking to us as it is to you. So let us read from Deadline Hollywood. Rob, do you want the honors or shall I?
Let me bring it up here. Hang on a second. I closed the window. Hold on, because when we got the auditor come in. Okay. Gina Carano hits back, announces new movie project with Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. They can't cancel us if we don't let them. That's a good attitude to have. Exclusive, less than 24 hours after her explosive ouster from Star Wars series The Mandalorian for incendiary social media posts. You see, putting a spin on it. Gina Carano has hit back at her detractors and revealed a new movie project she is making with conservative website The Daily Wire. Carano told us today, The Daily Wire is helping make one of my dreams to develop and produce my own film come true. I cried out and my prayer was answered. I am sending out a direct message of hope to everyone living in fear of cancellation by the totalitarian mob. I have only just begun using my voice, which is now freer than ever before, and I hope it inspires others to do the same. They can't cancel us if we don't let them.
I have to say, bravo. This is amazing. You know what they did? They must be crying blood in Disney and Lucasfilm right now. Like, they thought they got rid of her. They thought they canceled her. What they did, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, they struck her down, and now she's stronger than ever.
Well, you know what, too? I mean, should I continue on?
Crowder offered a job too, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, okay. Dank Farrick and her Mandalorian character would say. Okay, I must have missed that one. Carano will develop, produce, and star in the upcoming film, which the Daily Wire says it will release exclusively to its members as the company looks to bolster its entertainment division. Details are being kept under wraps, but it will be produced as part of Daily Wire's partnership with Bone Tomahawk producer Dallas Sonnier and his Bonfire Legend banner. We could not be more excited to be working with Gina Carano, an incredible talent dumped by Disney and Lucasfilm for offending the authoritarian Hollywood left. This is what the Daily Wire exists to do. Provide an alternative, not just for consumers, but for creators who refuse to bow to the mob, said Daily Wire co-founder Ben Shapiro. Maybe I should have read that as Ben Shapiro. We cannot be more excited to be working with Gina Carano, an incredible talent dumped by Disney and Lucasfilm.
I think we're good.
That's how he does. That's how I always.
Yeah, I don't need to hear his voice or a facsimile.
Okay, sorry. We're eager to bring Gina's talent to Americans who love her, and we're just as eager to show Hollywood that if they want to keep canceling those who think differently, they'll just be helping us build the X-wing to take down the Death Star. He added.
Oh, that's nice. That's a sick burn right there.
Need a little aloe for that burn? Carano's controversial social media post described by Lucasfilm as abhorrent saw her turfed from The Mandalorian by the studio and ditched by her agency UTA. The former MMA star and Deadpool actress played bounty hunter Cara Dune on the first two seasons of Lucasfilm and Disney Plus's hit series. The actress raised hell by sharing a TikTok post comparing the current divided political climate in the U.S. to those guys.
To those guys in Germany in the 40s.
Yes. Jews were beaten in the streets, not by those guys, soldiers, but by their neighbors. Well, she's right, even by children, because history is edited. Most people today don't realize that to the point where those guys could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first had to make their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for the political view? She wrote. She's not wrong. Another photo on Carano's Instagram story featured a person with several masks covering their face with the head with the caption, "Meanwhile in California." Both posts were scrubbed from the actress's Instagram yesterday, but others picked it up and reposted. The actress previously courted controversy for posts about election fraud and gender pronouns. Last month, right-wing site Daily Wire released its first feature film, school shooter movie Run, Hide, Fight, produced by Dallas Saunier under his Bonfire Legend banner. Daily Wire says the film drew more than 300,000 viewers during its 3-hour live stream premiere. The new alliance with Carano raises the prospect of the Daily Wire's film operation becoming a home for those going against the Hollywood grain in controversial ways. Not that Disney will be too worried about that, however. Carano is represented by Scott Karp at the Syndicate. Okay, first of all, not that Disney would be too worried about that, however. Okay, you know what?
That's you know what that's called?
That's called
right there.
Sour grapes.
Go on. Yeah, Rob, what's it called according to
sour grapes?
Yeah, that's not only is it sour grapes, that is what is called famous last words. That's like in any horror movie, like there's like saying, "Oh, what can go wrong?" Well, that's what this is. What just happened, what we just witnessed right now in real time, is a true game changer. Like, I think this is what really happened here. Like, Gina Carano, that was the start of thing. This right here, here's Moviegate. This is Moviegate taking off
her post that she got in trouble for, quote unquote, was her post and her saying that I just got fired for my fucking views. I put all this together. Like I said, this was coming down for a while. Like, if you clearly go through her tweets, she's somebody fucking fucked her over, and a lot of this stuff is her kind of telling us how she's feeling, what she's been going through, I think. And I hate sounding like a tinfoil, whatever, but no, it all makes sense now. Specifically the most recent one that, that Rob just read. Because it is. And again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a bit hyperbolic to go to that point and people are jumping on her, but no, it's like, really, how different is it? It's where that started, and that's what we're seeing in real time, and that's what I don't understand, how people are even remotely like casual about it. And that's why I got so fired up yesterday. Is like, this is enough. We're next. I mean, what makes you, if they can try and shut somebody down like Gina or anybody else they have in recent weeks, who's to say who's going to stop them when they come for us?
No, exactly. There's not going to be anyone less to stop them for coming for us. So, but again, to me, like, this is Star Wars. She truly embodies Star Wars in every way. She's Obi-Wan Kenobi. She's the Jedi. She got struck down, and she was just made stronger than ever before. Like, that, whatever movie that she's developing, I predict right now, it's gonna be huge. Obviously, it's not going to be Star Wars Avengers level huge, but it's going to completely, utterly change the movie industry forever. It's going to be Comicsgate all over again. You are going to have the entirety of the established industry bitching and whining and complaining and moaning, calling them Yahtzees and all that kind of thing, while the audience, relative to budgets and everything, are gonna go there. I mean, look at who's selling the most comics right now. Yeah, you have like Star Wars comics and stuff like that, or the High Republic comics are like bragging, "Oh, look at us! We sold 200,000 copies to retailers with all our predatory practices." Meanwhile, the crowd-funded Boom thing sold 600,000 comics of Berserker direct to consumer. That's 3 times as many as the already inflated numbers of Star Wars. And that's Comicsgate. This is Moviegate in real time that we are watching the beginnings of here. Like, this is history in the making. We're all witnessing it right now on this live stream. How awesome is that? That's what I see here right away.
Yeah, you kind of know that it was gonna, at some point, something was gonna spur creators to go outside the Hollywood system, and this is gonna be it. Like I said, this is, hey, listen, I've been saying this for how long, Tom? That the barrier to entry for making movies has been dramatically lowered. I mean, it takes less than $1,000. It takes less than $1,000 to get started. You have free. You have free editing software out there that is professional level.
Well, that was just going to say, like, I don't understand why we haven't hit a renaissance yet outside of Hollywood must be trying, between YouTube and all these other places. Because,
Well,
you're
I
right.
can tell you because there are too many independent movies that are dropped
There's that
every
problem,
single
yes.
week on Netflix. It's just like if you a comparison would be like the after the video game boom around 1983 before the NES came and provided a platform for everyone to unite around. You had all of these many different standards that cancelled each other out so that none was like dominating anything. That's what's happening like in independent movies right now. You have a movie there and a movie there, and they get dumped on Netflix with little fanfare or anything like that. Whereas what you don't have is any huge corporation that is completely on the sidelines, not part of the good company, but that actually have the resources to make professional budgeted content. Daily Wire has entered the scene, and they're doing just that. Like that's the movie equivalent of Communicate. I think we just saw right there. Because what they're going to do, they're going to have distribution. They're going to have a built-in audience. As I said, like 300,000 people were watching the live premiere of their first movie. So not like 300,000 in total saw it, and even that wouldn't have been too shabby. 300,000 saw the live premiere, and many more saw it later. This is genuine competition to Hollywood right here.
Yeah, no, and Ironcaster, I agree with you. He sends it, or they send a $2 super chat. Cinegate sounds better, in my opinion, than Moviegate. Yeah, that actually even sounds like a movie company. But no, that's what I've been saying for a while. This platform, it's primed for it. Comicsgate was the blueprint. I've seen it a long time coming, and I was going to get to earlier, Andre, with my explanation was yes, we're at a point now, technical wise, anybody as long as you can put together a story and you're talented, you can do it for cheap. But what was missing all this time, and that YouTube and all that kind of stuff was there, but was the community and the outlet and the fans and the built-in fan base, because that's what makes Comicsgate work, is that there's a built-in fan base already there to support it. And not only that, the creators are reciprocal to that, in that they're not just some person in a office building somewhere. We know who Uncle Ethan is. You know what I mean? Like, he talks to people, he's out there, and he's a genuine person. You may not agree with all of his politics or all of his hot takes, but I don't know too many people who have, who've interacted with him who haven't at least 9 times out of 10 been treated fairly. I've seen a lot of asshats get a lot of shit back from him though too, so just keep that in mind. But I'm just saying, like, for the most part, I think that's where this is headed, and I think you're right, Andre. I think this is a hell of a salvo to kind of kick it off with, and some kind of battle cry. And again, I would never dream of asking Gina, but she's more than welcome. Obviously, she can come anytime she wants to the show and talk about any project she's doing. The door is open. So, yeah.
I made the comparison, actually. I made because I probably remember, a lot of people in the audience might be a little too young to remember, apart from a few people. This is the equivalent of punk rock in the 70s, where the corporate structure of the music industry got so bloated and so redundant, and you had 10th generation, everything was derivative of everything else. 10th generation Billy Joel, 10th generation Elton John. You had disco, the exodus of disco, and the punks came along, like in New York and LA and London, and they said, you know what, we could do this. Screw this. We'll just go right back down to the bare minimum. Yeah, and they said we'll do this ourselves, And what happened though was that all the big labels stood up and took notice, like, oh, we have to have our own punk band. But it was this very organic movement of people that said had enough of the big big bloated corporate structure, and they said, we're going to do it ourselves. And they said DIY. I mean, go check out the Rhino DIY CDs if you can find those. I mean, it is it's one of those. It's an like I said, people look back on it, yeah, and it may not have been as huge a movement as people talk about it, back then, but it made enough of an impact that it forced some changes within the corporate structure that they had to stand up and take notice. Like, hey, you know what? This has happened. We better pay attention to it. And you had guys, Johnny Rotten was a scumbag. I mean, but still, nobody could rein him in. There's actually a great sketch from Saturday Night Live from a few years ago, the history of punk. Nigel Rubbish and the Bizarros. What do you think of the police? A bunch of bullies they are. Look more bitter at their funeral. And that's what it was. You had a bunch of angry people, and they said, you know what? We've had enough. We're going to do it ourselves. Nobody's going to control us. Nobody's going to tell us we can't do this. We can't do that. And that's what this resembles to me. I know. I was there the first time around.
Yeah, history does have a way of repeating itself, doesn't it? And that's kind of like the tragedy with those that refuse to learn it and learn from it. Nothing good comes from that level of denial. But
Right.
But this is exciting. This now with the closures and everything. Here's the watershed moment. This, I think, is I don't think anyone understood that this is a bigger deal than I think we can grasp right now.
Somebody says, Drew Gordon
I
says,
really
Johnny
think
Rotten.
so.
Sonny Gordon saying in the chat, Johnny Rotten, don't you mean Sid Vicious? They were all scum, except Steve Jones. Steve Jones seems like an okay guy.
Yeah, they had some pretty cool music, some of them, but other than that, I wouldn't know. I just like working on.
I mean, think about it. You had the Clash, you had the Damned, you had the Sex Pistols, you had the New York Dolls, you had the Ramones, you had Blondie, you had the Talking Heads, and punk was encompassed a lot of different styles. Even Elvis Costello said, hey, people call me a punk. Yeah, I guess I'm a punk. That's all. I mean, and you're going to see a lot. If this is the beginning of a movement, you're going to see a lot of different styles of film out of this.
I think so, because I think that just like Comicsgate, I haven't read too much into what Daily Wire is doing, but I think that the only thing that they're doing is that they're making movies that is free of basically the dogma and the political narrative, the very things that we don't want in movies. That's what they do. So they'll still have artistic freedom and everything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone in the chat, but that's my understanding. Because I haven't had time to look into this just yet, since this just broke. But my understanding is that they simply want to make movies that are movies, that don't have an agenda to them. And if it does, it's going to be one with a slightly more conservative slant than the extreme ideology that we're getting right now.
Which I'm not a big fan of, because that's one thing I've said. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to hit, is this point where we're going to get a few movies that are going to go too far the other direction, unfortunately, too. So I hope we hit a nice balance at some point here. But yeah, and again, I'm not saying this movie is going to be that. I'm just saying that we will have it. It will happen eventually.
Oh, of course.
And I don't want any politics in my movies, really. That's my whole point. Yeah.
The responsibility for that would fall straightly on those that started this whole trend, that started the trend that required a response. And then that's the response is, of course, correction in the other direction, because the things swing fast, and the pendulum swings fast and hard the other way. Well, and we've been waiting for a natural correction, and this just might be it.
Well, like I said, even if you don't agree with the politics of Ben Shapiro, or even whomever. Like I said, the barrier to entry for filmmaking has been lowered dramatically. And to me, I think that's what Hollywood has feared for a long time, that there are going to be all these movies out there and, oh my God, we're not going to be able to control it. Again, parallel to the music industry. I mean, when the internet broke and distribution became instantaneous among users, peer to peer. Oh, we can't control it. We have no way to put a cap on it, so we have to try to sue it out of existence. Yeah. And they couldn't. The genie is out of the bottle. Like I said, you can get a camera for about $500. There's free editing software. Every kid with a MacBook has a version of iMovie or Final Cut Pro. The tools are out there. It's all a matter of using them. And I've seen like models of the people have done effects models of like things like the Enterprise that people have made in Blender, which is a free software. This is professional level work, I've said. Yeah. Obviously it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same for everybody because talent isn't democratized, but still.
Well, one thing I got to say about this whole Gina thing is her coming out today and not saying something like, I still support Disney and apologizing and doing the normal routine song and dance that you would see out of anybody else. No, she doesn't do that. And I'm glad. I'm so glad because normally again, that would normally be the proper high road to take, right? But I've come to this point where I've said, fuck it. We have to get to a point where it's too much. Now, I'm not saying do exactly everything they do, but you know what? There's a time where you have to start fighting fire with fire at some point. You can't continue to allow the other ideals to take over everybody's lives. If these, you just almost got to start doing the same thing at that point. And that's where I've got no problems canceling Disney Plus. And if they want to try and pin that on something like it's anti-cancel culture, it's like, fuck you. It's a streaming service. It's not a person.
It's capitalism. It's
bullshit.
It's like I said, it's capitalism. They don't have the product that you want.
And I think this has been going on. I think that the rumors we were hearing about people wanting her. Now, I'm not saying anybody's trying to force her, but I'm saying there was probably people in Lucasfilm who obviously wanted her to go out and bend the knee and apologize. And I'll tell you what, she knew goddamn well that no matter what she did, they were still going to do this to her.
Yeah, they were determined and you know why? Because she had the wrong think. She had the wrong attitude. And for that, they couldn't abhor her.
No, so I respect her for that. She had all the wherewithal to know, you know what? I'm not going to bow to their wishes. Because even if she did, they still would have fired her. I guarantee it. I'm willing to put money on it, even though I could never win or lose that bet. But the point is knowing the way corporate politics are, knowing the way things are right now with this bullshit, she saw this coming. I guarantee you they were trying to push this on her, when I'm sure people like Pedro are probably, pressuring her behind the scenes. And I'm sure that's when Carl Weathers first came out in support of her was, they were probably talking, or he was well aware of what was going on. And he probably felt the same way she did. He's like, fuck it. Why should you give in to these people? They're not going to let you win in the end. There is no redemption arc for these people. They don't allow it. That's why I don't like it. I don't give a fuck what they say. And they can come out and say, oh, she was not canceled. It was consequences for what? No, bullshit. Fuck all you people who are saying that. That is the biggest load of shit I've ever seen. They have done nothing but try to cancel her. And you know what? She is uncancelable. Good.
She is now. She absolutely is now. Now she is indeed uncancelable. Because she just changed everything. She just completely changed it. And speaking of changed, you know what I just did? I just changed the thumbnail and title of this video because everything just changed. So everyone, feel free to tweet out that this is what we're talking about right now, because this is a game changer.
That's right. Like I said, even if nothing comes of it, just the fact that she's standing up to the corporation, is testimony to her saying, you know what, I'm my own person. I'm not gonna.
Well, it's just, and I've gotten to this point now, and again, anybody who wants to believe us or not, whatever, things that I was told and things that have happened now seem to make more sense, because sometimes we get things, but they're kind of cryptic. and we can't really do anything with it because we don't understand what it means without some kind of context. And even sometimes the person delivering the information doesn't always understand what's going on. And you got to usually piece these things together. And I'm only going off of what I know, and I have a pretty good idea of what went down though now. And yeah, I really feel like Gina is the one who's going to win in the end over this. Goodness should prevail here, and I feel like it will, because their argument against her is so fucking thin, wafer thin, not even less than wafer thin. So there you go.
All right. Well, anyway, I got to jump here, guys. I got a couple things I got to take care of.
Don't jump too hard or far.
You said jump. I say how high. Okay.
I would wish that's the way it worked, but Rob, I say jump, and he goes, I want to run.
Run. The only place I run these days is to the refrigerator. All right, but anyway.
All right, fine, run, but then I need you to walk. No, I'm going to skip.
Okay, gang. All right, enjoy yourselves. Don't everybody play nice, okay?
Take care.
All right, see you, Andre. See you.
Let's get to some of these super chats, Andre. In the meantime,
let's Tom, see if you can get someone else to join us.
I'm trying to see if there's somebody out there who's not busy.
Yeah.
I did send. I seen a few people in the chat I was sending links to, but I don't know if they haven't checked their messages or if they're just busy listening to us in the background, which I understand, and I do the same thing. So, but other than that, I will see if I can raise somebody here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're going to go through some super chats, and as per usual, we cannot show them on screen just yet. But we will. You're just going to have to listen to me as soon as I find exactly where we were, and I'm almost there, almost back to where we were. Yes, here we are. Master Clockwork, he sent us a super sticker, and then Sean said, Daily Wire just announced deal with Carano. And Valiant Renegade also says, breaking, Gina Carano to produce and star in a film for the Daily Wire. Justin Trudeau says, whoa, that camp story sounds very fake. And Silver Nova says, I am still in shock about Gina being fired by people who are protecting actual bigots. We really do have a problem here, folks. Yeah, and it's a big one too. And Anthony Arribas says for $9.99, thank you so much. And he says, hey, what's up, guys? Just got off this SJW channel, and the comments are expected. These weirdos demand that Gina care about trans issues and pronouns, etc. They are not the center of the world. No, they only think they are. And MB sent us 20 Polish zloty, and he says, I'd sooner donate my cash to Kurtzman than to Disney Plus now. So, yeah, talking about the choosing between two evils. And Stocklock says for $5 Canadian, if things keep going the way it is, people are going to see that the cure is worse than the disease. Ron W says, Disney isn't too big to fail. People thought GE, General Electric, at one time would never have issues. But one bad purchase making consumers angry can change all that. Yes, nothing is too big to fail. And nothing should be bailed out, even though they think it is. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but Disney is just one of those things that even if it fails in its current incarnation, it'll just, Apple kind of come in and buy it, and it'll just become even more corporatized, or something will happen. That's my thing. Disney as a name is not going to go anywhere.
No, far from it. Absolutely not. Disney won't go anywhere anytime soon. If need be, they'll just be bought by Apple or something. And that actually could happen. Anyway.
And Stephen Nenk, however you say this, sorry. I think I can answer this. Is the leak by Gina herself, or was it a leak from inside? Like seems to happen there. I don't think Gina made that leak. And the reason I say that, and I don't think anybody in her camp made that leak. And I think Doomcock has heard some good things, but I think some wires are getting crossed. The whole thing to the press, the way the wording was, no, that was somebody getting overzealous.
Yeah, that's what I think too. That because people hate her within Lucasfilm, and
words like a boring,
really hate her.
words like abhorrent, you don't say. And really it was. I think, Andre, you may have said this in your video earlier. If it was not, it was on a stream or somebody did in the last 2 days with all the streams I've done. And forgive me if I can't remember, but I think it was you who basically said that, like, how did you put it? That it would be one thing if they just had the first part of the statement. It was that latter part of the statement.
Yes.
That was, you see, because the first part of the statement is a real diplomatic. She doesn't work here. She doesn't have a current contract with us, and we don't plan on continuing. That's a normal kind of diplomatic, this is all I can kind of say statement. The rest of the shit is what bothers me and what bothers most people and what makes me feel like this didn't come anywhere from Gina's camp. I'm not saying she wasn't aware this shit was going to come out, because I'm sure she was getting 20,000 fucking phone calls, and then we saw her, and she knew obviously that her agency and her publicists were going to drop her and all that kind of shit. Like that just doesn't go to the news at first usually. I doubt that's the way she found out, is what I'm trying to say. So no, I don't think Gina or her camp leaked this to the press. Could have been her agency right before they dropped her ass. That could have very well been, but that's the thing, is a lot of this shit that these people are doing are optics. And I think people are really jumping the gun and not really paying attention to what's going on, and that's fine. Gina took advantage of the situation as far as I'm concerned, and she's the one who's coming out better, because they can try and hide cancel Disney Plus all they want. They can try and spin the hashtags every way they want. They can try and spin Gina's story any way they want. You guys know, we know the truth. The truth is out there. That's why we're here. And hopefully we can continue to do this for you guys, because otherwise that's what I'm afraid of. And that's why I feel like I don't think it was a hyperbolic statement on her part. I really don't.
No, far from it. And also, like, that statement from Disney, that was genuine. That was someone at Lucasfilm expressing their hatred and contempt of someone that doesn't toe the party line, someone that dares to politically disagree with them. And you know how the people like that feel. Everyone who is to the left of Chairman Mao is a Yahtzee. So yeah, and that's how they saw her, and they couldn't contain their glee in getting rid of her.
And according to Joel, their stock went down again, which I'm not surprised. It did get like a 3% boost after the conference call, but that conference call was the biggest bunch of rose-tinted bullshit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the actual call. This time I didn't think I had to. I knew they weren't going to address it.
No. It was very little decent information there. Oh yeah, the only other thing that I forgot to mention before, they also said that Black Widow, the current plan is for it to be released in theaters, but then again, it might go straight to streaming.
Is that what they said?
Open.
Yeah, I knew they would change their tune.
Yeah, of course, we said that the whole time. That movie is going to be released in day and date on Disney Plus. I guarantee you, we said this consistently the whole time. The last investor meeting in December, they were like, no, going straight to theaters. But now, when we are closer to when it's supposed to open, we might go to streaming anyway. So yeah,
and
there we go.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know we've predicted this, but I'm wondering if yesterday didn't solidify that, because they probably, and again, they were boasting their 95 million subscribers. The way things went yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost a quarter of that, at least overnight. And that didn't like scare the shit out of them. And they're like, we got to do something to get people back. And I'm sure they thought it was going to be this deal here. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and push Black Widow, because WandaVision was trending, but I don't see too many people talking about it.
Who cares about WandaVision right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, yeah, it was trending, but I just don't see too many people, even in our circles, talking about it. So that, yeah. And again, Rory, I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing here. I'm just taking that out of the air. So don't take that to the bank in any way, shape, or form, please. But no, I don't see the interest right now, because this is just overtaking all the news cycle. And like, I thought it was kind of funny that it overshadowed Pedro's little fucking last of it. Like, that is almost like, the funny thing is how many funny videos would be out right now about that, but nobody gives a shit because of this. because people will be jamming it so bad. Like it's almost, the joke almost writes itself as far as Pedro being in Last of Us. It's just so juicy, but nobody gives a shit. I don't think I've seen anybody do any videos on it yet. I mean, I'm sure they have, but
Who the hell cares?
so I'm saying my YouTube alerts have been so fucked up lately too. That's the other thing. They're suppressing the shit out of everybody. So, I'm glad you guys are here and you found us. But do help us out by sharing out the stream. That does help when we do these. So thank you. But I mean, I'm not saying I won't watch WandaVision again eventually, but yeah, I don't know.
No, of course we'll watch it. Here's the rub, though. We'll watch it, but we won't support Disney Plus. We'll Surfshark it because they're our sponsor. So we shall find inventive and legal ways to get it done. So we'll at least, if nothing else, we'll spoil it for you guys. Keep on this.
Yellow Flash says no thanks. I'm assuming he means the Last of Us TV show, probably.
Yeah, I wonder who they're going to get, like that man, woman, bear thing, whatever it is.
Sounds like a good time to plug that VPN. Yes. That happens. Yes, indeed, sir. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pickle Trunk.
Yeah, you will note that when we push something on you, then generally it is something that we use ourselves, and that we think is pretty cool, and that we can see that is something that you have use for. And a VPN going forward with like stuff on Disney Plus without necessarily wanting to support Disney Plus, that's you're going to need the VPN, let's say.
Well, not only that, I think enough people know enough people that they can probably borrow friends' accounts and stuff like that. Like, it'll hit them in a wallet. It will eventually. I mean, I'm not trying to say people shouldn't be able to enjoy things they want to enjoy. And I know I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, I just can't cancel it because I got the kids and all that stuff. And that's understandable, But all I'm saying is if you do decide to go that route, just make sure they know why you did. That's
important. That's vital, because otherwise they're going to blame everything else.
Exactly. Because I've seen some people like, I cancel, and it's like, well, did you tell them why? And like, no, they know why. And it's like, no,
they don't know why.
They you can assume that, but
yeah,
they're going to lump you in.
You know what they're going to say? They're going to say that if you don't tell them why, they're going to say, oh, we have loads of people canceling because they're so upset with Gina Carano. They're so upset with what she said that we are losing subscribers because of Gina Carano. Our biggest mistake is not firing her much earlier, or even hiring her in the first place. That's what they're going to spin it, unless you make it abundantly clear. No. Screw that. This is why. You have to put it in plain text that this is why.
Yep, like Mr. Tinkleton just said here. They're upset, so we let her go. And then the other question before that, sorry, I know you probably wanted to address that, Andre, where to go here.
Yeah, the question that was there was a Star Wars fan group or something like that that disappeared. No, but anyway, the question was, do you think that Kathleen Kennedy can be fired from this, or fired over this?
I doubt it. This is not... the thing is with her fired, she is in a position where she has more power than people think. I mean, because honestly, I'm sure if Bob wanted to get rid of her in some way, they could. And he's obviously taken over basically Star Wars anyway, so he doesn't have to. There's already 2 other people there that are basically doing her job. And one of them is, I think we're going to be doing a video on Sagumta, I believe her last name is, or something like that. I can't remember. And I apologize. I know it sounds bad, but the other one was Michelle Rejwan, which she's just been like fucking AWOL since Rise of Skywalker. Last time I seen her, I think. Somebody out there has seen her since, let me know. So like, yeah, that's where I think the state of things are right now. Once Indiana Jones is over, or just things kind of whatever over the next few weeks, months, we'll hear something's going to change or happen. What do you think, Andre?
I don't think Kennedy, she's not going to be fired.
No,
not at all. No.
She's going to like retire or whatever.
But there's going to be some emergency meetings in Disney tomorrow, or on Monday or next day convene on Skype or something, because this thing right here.
Well, I
they were
heard there was
obviously
actually something already. I heard the Bobs got together and they weren't too happy. And I don't know what's going on with Jon Favreau. I've heard two different things now about Jon Favreau. I've heard he doesn't give a shit. And then I heard that this was too much for him and he can't either get behind it because obvious reasons, because he's Jewish, or because the pressure, you know, or and then the other one is basically that, or I've heard is because it actually did piss him off too. So
I have also heard conflicting things here, because I honestly don't know, because like you, I've heard two different mutually exclusive things. One of the things I've heard is that he was the one that said, okay, that's it, get rid of her. But at the same time, I've also heard that he's conservative and he's not down with the cancel culture crew and everything. So even if he might not have liked it, it would be out of his character to want to fire and cancel her over it. And that other thing is that he is, the other thing I've heard, and this is the mutually exclusive, is that he is so pissed that they just lost Cara Dune and all of that goodwill, that he just might say that, you know what, screw it, all that other stuff that I was developing for you, I'm not doing it anymore. Like you wanted the Kathleen Kennedy camp and you let them win, so fine, now enjoy. I don't know which is true. I'm inclined to disbelieve that, but
I believe just the kind of person that you can tell, at least from what I've seen in movies and interviews and what we can tell of John. I don't think he would take it personally. I think it was more something like the optics of it and the pressure of it. And, you know, because I've heard that he's been kind of being the buffer between her and the people who want her gone. And it could very well be that this is the one time, and I can see where this could be the one time that his hands were kind of tied and there was nothing he could fucking do. And, or it was leaked to the press by somebody that wasn't supposed to be. And it may not even be something that's been, that was kind of finalized yet until, you know, things got too far. Who knows? I trust, at least in my heart, I don't think Favreau would be that pissed about this. I think he would understand the situation, but I could also see the pressures he would be under in his position to where he could not really do a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm inclined to believe that as I said in the editorial, that what Gina Carano did with that last message on Instagram was that, however true it may be, she just handed those that want to get rid of her ammunition, and not just any ammunition, but depleted uranium ammunition that Favreau can't protect her from. Like, he can be caught in the crossfire, but that's about it. So then he either has to get away or get shot himself. Because, so she made herself unprotectable within Disney there.
No, I agree to a point, Fat Elvis, that it's not good for Favreau, and I don't know how much Filoni. I kind of just figure him in with just kind of a meh. Bunch of them. I mean, he's a George Lucas loyalist to a point, but then again, he's not. So I don't know where he lies. But Favreau being radio silent, I really just don't think he can do anything. I think it's one of those things where if he does say anything, it could just make shit worse. At this point, I mean, I really don't know. Obviously, I can't speak for him. I don't know what his feeling. We don't know where he stands on any of this shit. But he's not somebody who's ever really come out and said anything about any of this stuff before. He's not real vocal about any of his feelings on these kind of things. And what happens if Favreau quits? Well, mutant, then we know what's going down. And if that happens, that would be a public relations nightmare beyond Disney's fucking belief. Because in one fell swoop, it proves all of us right.
I think there's been plenty proof that we've.
I know, but I mean, it's like there's no doubt. And then because it would show so much crap. Like it would almost be bigger than the news dropping when HBO said they were moving, or Warner Brothers said all their movies were going to be on HBO Max. It would be like literally bigger than that. bigger than this news even, because it would be just huge. I mean, that would be a besmirchment on the face of Star Wars and Disney like you wouldn't believe. Because you have a Jewish guy leaving in protest over them firing her over that shit. It just, the poeticness of it would be too good. And I mean, I know I wish John would do something like that, but I doubt it. He's not going to commit fucking career suicide like that.
No, he's not going to. And also, he's like, well, he has too good a relationship with Disney and the Marvel guys and Iger and all of those, that he's going to burn all of that down to the ground, because Lucasfilm doesn't work out because of Kennedy and the Kennedy faction, because all of it is really the fault of the Kennedy faction. They are the fault of everything here. I mean, Favreau, he did a great job in basically bringing Star Wars back to life, like not back to where it was, but back to the world of the living from the corpse that it was. And he did that with Gina Carano. And the Kennedy faction have been sabotaging them and creating controversies and doing mixed messaging the entire freaking time. Like, they ruined everything. And the same thing with Carano now being fired. That's the ones pushing for it are obviously the Kennedy faction, obviously.
As much as I'd love for it to happen, yeah, I just don't see it. But anyway, sorry, I thought you were done.
Yeah, no. So the point I was making is that he's not going to disappear just for that. And we have Paulie joining us. Welcome.
Hey, I'll take Paolo. Paolo.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good morning.
We have to ask you right away. I take it that you heard the news that actually Ben Shapiro, I see, is live with right now over on the Daily Wire, talking about how he's teaming up with Gina Carano. What are your instant thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm not really I'm a fan as far as him being an independent thinker. Don't necessarily agree with him all the time. And so, I think it's wonderful as far as new movie avenues for the industry, right? It's like, why not? And as far as Gina, I mean, good for her. What a way to think out of the box. So those are my initial, reactions I saw the headlines as well. But I just finished with the client, so I apologize. I haven't gotten it.
Oh no, that's all right.
No,
I'm just glad to have you in here because it's been a heck of a morning.
Has it?
Yeah. Well, we had our special guest, and it was a kind of a special fun thing. Of course, we didn't when we had. Okay, full disclosure, guys. Of course, we know it was probably a bit abrupt to have the auditor come in and do that whole thing we were doing in the bit and everything in the middle of what's going on, but. Obviously, we had no idea that this shit was going to happen at the same time we had planned this. Like, this is obviously the auditor thing was pre-planned almost like 2 weeks or a week in advance. So, right. I wish we could have timed it a little better. Sorry about that for those who weren't expecting something like that.
But you got a very, very cool reemergence of a very cool character from a very cool movie that you should check out.
And hopefully for those who weren't upset by it, you got the fun out of it, and I do feel like it was a nice little fresh breath of fresh air from all this stressful news we've kind of been under the last few weeks, and I think it was something we all kind of needed. I thought it was fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I missed it. Well,
yeah, that's all right.
That's what I get for having a job.
A job. That's all right. Well, you were at least you were doing something that was
it's productive.
Productive. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
I train people in martial arts, so it's also good for me. It's positive. Even though
it's funny you mentioned that because somebody said something to me about because they loved your voice yesterday. They said you should do some meditation videos, and I said, you know what? That's something that may be in the realm of possibility, and I thought of that because of your martial arts training.
Yeah.
Which martial arts is it that you do?
Well, I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I am well-versed in a lot of stand-up. And now you got to be creative because most of my clients are virtual, which is, it is what it is. So
That's
I
kind of gotta be
often do
weird.
have to, yeah, I often do have to talk some of my clients off the edge just because they
Yeah.
get so stressed out with the world today.
Of course, everyone is. And that's
Mhm.
like one thing that I keep on hearing all the time is that we help keep people sane, which is something I really, really
So
appreciate.
yeah, maybe that's something you should think about is some meditation videos or something.
Now I was gonna do a bit with Echo Base where Coach would try to hypnotize me with his dreamy voice.
He does have a dreamy voice.
He does, because he kind of talks like this.
Yeah, he's got that
Yeah,
southern drawl, but it's very soothing and
very soothing,
man,
which trips me out because he's also like a basketball coach or something.
yeah. I can't imagine him go get it to the bat. Yeah, I can't imagine him getting like all loud and
Right,
you
right.
guys are doing a great job. We're playing a good game here. I'm glad you guys have made it today. Like I can't even picture him being like a coach like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
now we're doing a great job. I just want to see y'all take it to the basket.
Yeah. So now I'd like you, Tommy, to dribble down the lane. And then Andre, I want you to take your Viking hat and take it and stuff it in their face. Something like that. I don't know.
And we're not laughing. I love it. I can't picture him being like a coach, but like he does. Yeah, he's great. We'll have to have him on here again. Echo Base guys are great. I love them. Vigilante Williamson says hello to Paulie.
Hey,
Latino Slant. Yes, Latino Slant is where you weren't late. Don't even try to pretend like you did something wrong. No, we just brought you in here late into the show here because I sent the link out to a few of our regulars, so we're glad you showed up. So that's all that matters. Okay. Andre, do we have you got to bow out here for a few minutes? You said so.
Yeah. Andre, I was gonna also say someone in the chat said distribution would be hard for their film. Yeah, I disagree. There's so many streams of distribution now, and especially with movie theaters, kind of like that business is going by way of the dodo. I think that they'll be innovative with their distribution streams.
Yeah, I think there'll be ways, and that's what I was saying earlier. Was like we're at a point, and Rob and I, and he was here. Where we were talking about how, like to be able to actually put a production together, if you have the talent to do it, is not nearly as difficult as it used to be. But it's the networking to be able to get it out there, get the word out there. Because Andre pointed out, there's 1,000,001. Independent movies that drop everywhere every day between Netflix and Amazon and this place and, horror movies left and right. And, all this kind of stuff that, it's so hard to sift through some of it. But I think that's where the key is. The missing key was, because YouTube is a distribution platform. Let's be real. I mean, you could basically, distribute your movie on YouTube, have ads on it, and people can see it for free. And you also get paid at the same time, win-win, right? And I see that as a big future. But the problem is getting the word out there about your movie. The big thing between the independents and the studios have always been that the studios have this basically endless pit of advertising money that they can get behind any movie. And we've seen it in full action. And we've seen some of the most obnoxious ones that they've ever had, most notoriously probably everything between Godzilla and, Minions everywhere. So, I mean, we've seen it, in action. We know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that's the big thing is having a community like this, like we have now, that's similar to what Comicsgate was, however you want to put it, is a great place to start to build, this platform of people that have voices and stories that can be told that are not normally what you get from the studio system. And, I'm not saying we're going to get the next Star Wars out of it necessarily, but you never know. We could find a lot of great stuff that we haven't seen, and there's a lot of untapped talent out there that's just waiting to get used. And I'm not saying anybody can make a movie, but it's possible. It's very possible now. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Paulie, but
I mean, I completely agree. You know, a friend of mine, and I brought it up on when you maybe a couple of weeks ago, you had one of the horror filmmakers with the documentary. I don't know
Tunnicliffe?
how their 80s horror
no,
documentaries.
Oh
no,
no,
you mean
Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah. Into Darkness. Yeah.
So I had brought up Murder in the Woods, which is a film that a friend of mine she wrote. It's a
Which he'd
fantastic.
actually seen, if I remember right.
Yes, that one. No, I think that he wasn't. That he had to research that a bit more. Wasn't that what he said?
Right, he hadn't seen it, and he was going to put it on his list. It came
Oh,
out.
that's right. Yes.
So it came out during the pandemic, but it's almost 5 years old. And, you know, just by sheer willpower, you know, like her and her people finally got a distribution deal during the pandemic. Completely independent movie they did. Danny Trejo was the freaking forest ranger sheriff, whatever it was. So that's how, you know, he made the poster, you know, that's great. And then they opened up in like 30 drive-ins and then some selective theaters, and they did it, you know. And if you believe in something, and same thing with Robert Meyer Burnett and his film, and they're getting all out there in the film festivals, there are avenues, guys. People are asking, it's called Murder in the Woods. And Mexican Ironman just texted me.
Films.
He just said hello. He's
Oh,
sorry,
hello,
he's
Mexican
working.
Yeah, oh, no problem, man.
He wanted to make it.
Speaking of independent, we have Mr. Tom Conkle, independent filmmaker himself. How are you doing?
Good. I hear you're talking about, most recently, I heard you talking about YouTube being a great platform where you can monetize and build an audience.
If there's somebody who knows anything about that, I think it'd be you.
That's what I've been doing. That's been my business model for the last 10 years. And yes, hello, Mr. Tickletron. Good to see you. I think that you don't have to please everyone. You have to just please enough people. And what I mean by that is the future for entertainment, I think, is niche and genre, where you find an audience that likes what you're doing. And rather than, you know, put out that big net like you would to try and compete with a studio where you're trying to please everybody, you please that core audience by delivering what you promise. And I think Tom, you were making this great point of, with a platform like this, you can find your people, you can find your audience, and then make stories specific to that audience or that genre. And you don't have the massive overhead that somebody like a studio has, where they need to knock at, $200 million in order to even see a profit. If you keep your core costs down, you're not swinging for the fences all the time, but you're actually able to output some quality stuff.
Yeah, and a great example of that, and I mean, I know there's some people who are not a fan of John Campion, that's fair, but Robert Meyer Burnett brought up, during the pandemic, that he put together this documentary about movie trailers, put it up there, didn't do a bunch of advertising. All he did was advertise it on his show and stuff like that, and it's already in the profit.
Yeah, exactly.
And Robert's like, he could have done more. He could have done this. And, was like, I feel disappointed. He could have, but you know what? In the end, it doesn't matter, because John had a goal, set out to do it. It happened and it worked. And it was because he basically did what you're saying, is that he didn't go, shoot for the moon completely, but he knew what level he needed to do it at and where he could profit from him.
Yeah.
I can't knock him for that at all.
Absolutely. With Troubles My Business, that was a classic example. I decided I wanted to do an independent movie that wasn't like a lot of the other ones. It was a 1940s noir thing. It's kind of a love letter to that. And those are the people that I went after. If I were able to please somebody who's like, hey, I love The Maltese Falcon, or I love Chinatown, or whatever, if they got a little bit of enjoyment out of it, then that to me was the success. That was where I had it. And if, I'm into profit, so you make more, and that's really the goal. The goal is to make enough money, pay all your people, keep the lights on, and be able to make more. And if you don't get, a green-eyed monster, if you don't think, oh, that one was a success, I'm going to spend 100 times more. No, if you keep it reasonable, I think that business model works. I know you were talking about Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro's company. He just acquired his first film, which I think was Run, Hide, Fight, and the cost of making that film was quite low, but they're leveraging the audience that they have. That Hollywood wouldn't touch that movie because they're like, oh no, it's just school shooting and we can't have this kind of thing. It's like, well, no, it's Die Hard in a school, and they leverage it and they'll make money on it, and there's just another place that another voice can have. Agree with the philosophy of the film or not, doesn't really matter. If the film is any good, then it's going to serve its audience.
Yeah. Tom, I have a question before we get to Klatu Barada Nikdu's question that's on screen right now. I think that my gut reaction to this is that Hollywood just changed. I don't think that the players in it necessarily realize it, but from my point of view, what just happened with Gina Carano, I think that was yesterday was really, really massive thing. We had Cameron Pasha come on yesterday after you were on. He even said that he thinks like this is the end for Star Wars, for Lucasfilm, and in the end maybe Disney. Like nothing's going to be the same. It's going to be like before and after Carano. Well, of course, before and after the pandemic too, but given that, it's before and after Carano. And they also said that the rest of the industry wouldn't touch her. And of course, Ben Shapiro now has a production company. He swooped in. It's going to build a movie around her. I don't know exactly what yet. I think that movie is going to be huge. I think it's going to be crowdfunded. I think it's going to change the industry. I think it's going to do for Hollywood what Comicsgate have already done for the comic book industry, where you have like the elites that kind of like run their business, and they're like, ha ha ha, these people, they can't really do anything, and then suddenly they change everything.
I think we're on the verge of another independent revolution. It happens about every 30 years. Look at it. Easy Rider was at the end of the 60s, into the 70s gave us that revolution. Going into the 90s, you had stuff like Reservoir Dogs, and speaking of John Favreau, you had
Steven Soderbergh,
so all that stuff. Rodriguez, all in the early 90s, then Tarantino blew it up.
Yeah,
we're ready. We're due for another one.
Well, here's the thing, too. Andre made a very astute statement with that, is that, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, if she were shunned in this one venue, there's literally nowhere else she could go. Her career would be over. There was no other pipeline that you could drop a project in. If the 4 or 5 places you could take a movie to be distributed said, you know what, we don't like your point of view, we don't like your philosophy, it was game over. And I've run into that. I've had projects where I had a comedy project one time, and you took it to somebody like NBC. Well, they have Saturday Night Live. So if they don't want a comedy that competes with Saturday Night Live, there is no place you can put that. Because they're, NBC is Universal. Universal, is owned by, a no there is a no 15 different places. And I think, Tom, your revolution is this. We've been talking about diverse voices, but not really, endorsing it or planning.
We lost Tom.
He was speaking some dangerous truths, I imagine, because he was.
Did you lose me?
Down.
Yeah,
you're back again.
That's just the FBI. Don't worry about it.
So
where did you lose me?
You were about to come with a big revelation like 30 seconds ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the revolution that Tom is talking about is finally. Technology is so far ahead that the genie's out of the bottle, that if you get shunned one place and you truly have a following, or you have something good to offer, or you have it, you just go, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. And you have the same access opportunities. You might not have the same money, you might not have the same deep pockets, but you don't need that, because you can niche program and say Gina wanted to do something she's very passionate about. She's got people that really appreciate her and support her. Well, she's not relying on 5 different corporations giving her the nod of like, yeah, you'll be heard, like you would have been even 20 years ago. And now she can go, look, I'm going to reach out, subscribe to my stuff. I'm going to set up a Patreon. I'm going to set up whatever. Here's the project I want to do. If you think it has merit and you want to see it, I will execute it. And you can buy the ticket when I need it, which is while I'm making it, not buy the ticket after I've made it.
That's a part of it. Yeah, I do agree. So, and you were going to say something, Polly?
And she has an incredible fan base.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Big time.
And by the way, I haven't met Polly, but hello, Polly. I'm sorry
Yes, Polly,
I
meet Tom.
monopolized
Tom,
your
Polly.
appearance.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wait,
we should have introduced you in the beginning. That's my fault.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Actually, I trust that
Barata.
you will be seeing a lot of each other in the time to come.
Yeah, that would be
At
cool.
least is the-
We'll
is
get
the-
into
is the hope.
that. Kalatu Barata. Anybody get that joke? You're welcome. Tom, you going to go work for Daily Wire now? That's a good question.
Well, I don't know if work for is the thing. They have to actually invite you and call you.
Right.
So
right. I was gonna
I
say,
think,
depends if they offer him a
Get the
job.
contracts going.
Yeah, I
the
think
paperwork.
if Daily Wire called and said, "What have you got in your slate?" I've got 5 or 6 films that would definitely fit. You know, not political films, but certainly films that they would be interested in. That I could pitch to them, and if it made sense, why wouldn't I? You know, why wouldn't I say, let's have a conversation? If you have resources, you want to do it. I have a couple of films that are what you might call straight up classic old school action films or science fiction movies. I wouldn't hesitate to, you know, I'm not judging anybody. It's like if they come to me and said, hey, Daily Wire's interested in the pitch and here's the budget range, I would jump at it in a second because I'm a guy who wants to tell stories and I'm platform agnostic is what I say in that I don't believe there's any particular right platform or right way to do it. In fact, Amazon Prime just announced they will no longer take nonfiction and short films in their Prime service. So a lot of indie people that are making like a documentary or something like that, it's not even going to be considered on the Amazon platform. So you have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's so
like
many.
everything just changed because there now you suddenly have like a slightly increased barrier to entry. And Colton 53, this is why I think that this is a game changer. He says Gina has a rich family and has a good relationship with Dana White, who's filthy rich. She might be able to bring more funding and more names with her from outside the Hollywood system. And you know what? Dana White, to my awareness, is also conservative.
Yeah.
If she and Ben Shapiro were to give him a call and say, you know what, we need 500 million to like fund, and we'll guarantee you double revenue on it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
They're going to get it.
Yeah,
They're going to get
you
the
go
funding.
you go to Dana and you say, hey, I've got a terrific story. Hollywood won't touch me. Let's go ahead and circumvent it. Let's do our own rollout of it. We drop it on all the platforms. Here's where the money path is. And you know what? A movie can sit there for a year, and to everybody, it's a new ticket. It's a premiere whenever you watch it. When it's on streaming, it's new to you. So we call that the long tail. You know, it can sit there and make more money the second year than it did the first year. So whenever I tell an investor something, I'm like, look, the long tail on this is my film can make more money now than it did when it came out. It doesn't rely on that opening weekend or making, you know, a big splash up front. It's a steady, consistent stream, many streams coming together over a period of time. And for an investor going after something that Gina wanted to do makes complete sense because he can say, look, we'll leverage our audience. If it's any good, it'll sit there for 3 years and make you money.
Yeah, indeed. Before we move on, I just want to address some super chats real quickly here because we don't want to forget them or get too far behind. Hector Farias sent us $5 with no message. So either he sent no message or YouTube removed it. Just so you know, they do that if you have like the wrong keywords in there. But thank you in any event. Netters Network says, Disney had forgotten some fans are also stockholders. Yesterday, we sold all of our Disney stock. I hope all fans who own stock did. Yeah, like you can try to do a short squeeze there. And Johnny GTO says, Ben Shapiro just grew 2 inches in my book. I think this is going to be really popular. Just look at the response here. It's overwhelming. Prince Andrew says, for 25 Australian dollars, thank you so much. Do you think Gina will win a lawsuit against Disney for unlawful dismissal? I can answer that right away, but I want to hear what you have to say first, Tom.
No, I think unfortunately there probably is a clause, and you may disagree, but being a private company, unfortunately they can do this. I don't know if they can pursue it in court, or if she really should waste her resources doing that. The best revenge would be living well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Nice.
there's nothing unlawful about the dismissal. The only
No.
grounds that she would have to sue is the slander that they put in the official statement. But that only
Right.
made her stronger.
Exactly.
Paulie,
Well,
you
let's be
think-
clear. She was not really dismissed. That's the thing. They didn't renew her contract. That's what the statement says.
Right.
I
Well, yeah. I mean, the two coincided. You're absolutely right. And how ironic that it's over somehow being anti-Semitic, and then the next day she makes a deal with a conservative Jewish man, Ben Shapiro, to do this. So clearly that's not the factor here.
Yeah. I'll do a couple of more super chats. Patrick Mulligan says for $5 Canadian. Oh, this is a German joke, but I think it's fantastic. He says, "You cannot compare things to the Holocaust. My grandfather died in the Holocaust. He fell off his guard tower, and many of the bad race escaped."
That was always a hit at the dinner table.
We really need a wah,
Whoa.
wah, wah.
Yikes.
I have to say, like,
Wow.
one of my Uwe Boll, he has made two really good movies in my book. One of them is Rampage, and the other is Postal. I don't care what any of you have to say. Postal is a great freaking movie. Like, not a guilty pleasure. It's a great movie.
It's satire.
And that joke is made in it. It's amazing satire.
Yeah.
And Clark Terry fan says for $5, "Love you guys. The news about Gina is great. I actually posted about the need for conservatives to create more content." And here's the thing. I don't even think the content is going to be that conservative for the most part. I think that, like Comicsgate, it's simply going to be void of propaganda. That's what I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
well-
important. Go ahead, Paulie.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Well, because Tom and guys, back in the day, independent film meant what? Christian films, right? Like, it wasn't really, oh, you're doing what? Oh, okay. Independent now is like where everyone who's got some common sense, they're doing movies independently, and they don't need Hollywood. Who needs Hollywood?
That is true.
That's my kind of like my first thought, especially they've always proven themselves. The only thing is that the people like Rodriguez or Cuarón or Del Toro, they eventually become part of the system, even though they have a rebel mentality still. Here now it's just like, what I've always loved about Rodriguez is, he created his own studios, his own TV network. I mean, outside of Hollywood, literally in Austin, Texas. Yeah,
I love what he's done. I'm a big fan of his stuff. I mean, obviously he's mainstream too because he can do Mandalorian, but then he could step back and do something like Sin City and be self-contained and do whatever he wants to do. And like you say, there's a lot of great Latino filmmakers that cut their teeth in indie, and then they can keep one foot in that world and one foot in the other. And to me, as an artist, that is the best lateral you can make, because if there's something that, the corporate machine is like, no, then you go, well, that's fine. I've leveraged my audience. I'll do it without you.
Well, think about it, Tom. Not only he's created a structure where every year he gives new filmmakers, and they're not, whether they're Latino or not, that's not, it's like the best filmmakers, 5 of them, $7,000 each, go make a movie. And I'm gonna film you guys making a movie because I will use that content on my television network.
Smart.
We'll call it Rebel with a Crew or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And now those filmmakers, they're the second, third generations, and they already have their second films coming out.
That's right.
This is brilliant, man.
It is brilliant. And you know what it is it's more like the old studio system where you bring people up, you train them, you support them, and it gets away from this whole, independent. Independent in the worst way, where it's like, I'm out for myself. I don't lift anybody else up. I'm trying to get my own deal. I'm struggling, from one job to the next. It's like, no, you build up this a bunch of talent that's all under your umbrella, and you nurture it and you give them a place where they can create. That's all anyone's doing. I mean, like Ben Shapiro or not, the man is creating an opportunity for people that may not have a voice or be able to make a film because of the lack of messaging.
Listen, Tom, if Ben Shapiro calls me tomorrow and say, I want to do an alternative Latino site, on Daily Wire, I'm there. You kidding me?
Of course. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I'd rather be there than MSN or cualquiera, like, you know what I'm saying? Where you have to check in I have to check all the boxes to make sure I'm their right type of Chicano. And I am not the one.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing. That's the thing. I agree with you. Yeah. You should be able to be, it doesn't matter what you are. I mean, it's like, let's be honest. If it's good, I don't care. If you've got a good idea, we shouldn't be checking off boxes and just say, well, are you the right kind of Latino? Do you write the? It's like, you should be able to do a movie where I go, I didn't even know he was Latino. I don't even care he was Latino. He just made like Die Hard. Who cares? If we can get to that point, we actually that's progressive to me.
Correct. Those are the formulas, right? Great story, good actors, great sound.
Yep. Sound gives away a budget faster than anything else.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you, Tom. I've said that so many times to people.
Yeah.
Sound is more important half the time than the picture itself. Like, you can get away with a shitty picture as long as the sound is good. Yeah. And the same thing goes for your viewing experience. If you're somebody who doesn't have even if you have a small apartment, you can get a decent surround sound system now. And I mean, I get it. Some people, they don't feel like it's practical or not their thing or whatever, but you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is that the ears have more depth than the eye. That's why you can listen to a radio show or a podcast for 4 hours and get this depth of conversation, because the ear can go, audio learning is way different than the visual. The visual, of course, is important and you get a lot of information, picture worth 1,000 words, but it's still superficial. If the audio is not well recorded, if the audio has no depth, if it really is crappy on a film, it's the first thing that takes you out of it, isn't it?
First thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Audiences are pretty forgiving to a certain degree on a lot of things, but man, you gotta have some great sound and some good actors and a badass story.
I agree. They will follow you. It will transcend the media if you've got that. It transcends whatever you use to shoot it is irrelevant to somebody going, you know what? I like that. Like, I didn't watch the original Terminator and go, gosh, I wish he had better Panaflex cameras. You know what I mean? But there is this kind of snobbish attitude where it's like, I like Beethoven, but how old was Beethoven when he wrote this? Who cares? He's 50. It's good. It's like there's a kind of snobbish thing of where it came from. And it's like, ultimately, all that matters is the result.
Well, and I mean, again, it seems so trivial, but it is so true how your sound in a film project will make it feel like it's either something that was produced, in a studio or by a studio or by, with some actual money behind it.
Yep.
Or nothing. And that's usually my biggest gripe or not gripe or critique when it comes to some of the independent stuff that people send me or fan projects and stuff like that. It's like, it looks amazing. It looks like you put $10 million on screen, but it sounds like shit. So that $10 million went out the window.
Yeah, exactly. I got a guy I've worked with forever. He's actually from my same state. We moved out here. Trip Brock has this guy, and he's Monkeyland Audio. He does audio for films and does a lot of indie films. And he puts a polish on it where you go, wow, that's a 5.1 surround mix. He can take a film that was a $50,000 film, and you listen to it, and you're like, okay, that was a $10 million film.
I can actually do that's kind of what I got it. Sound was my thing. I did not expect to do video editing when I did this.
And Tom, from where I come from, it is a big deal for me because decade after decade, Hollywood has gotten it wrong when it comes to great Latino stories. So that's where I'm coming from. But ultimately, of course, I want our stories to be part of the tapestry that is America, that is great stories.
Yes.
So,
I love that that's your philosophy, man. It gives me hope. I love that.
Oh, there's a lot, and trust me, there's a lot of us like that,
Yeah.
Well,
filmmakers Latino filmmakers questioning, like, little things like, why are they redoing Wizard of Oz? What the hell is going on?
I said that yesterday. I was like, really? Like here I am struggling with all these original scripts. I'm trying to get stuff set up, and I look and I'm like, oh, good, we're doing Wizard of Oz again. After The Wiz, after Return to Oz, after that, because there's so much more to say, and the kids are going to be so surprised at the end because they've never seen this before. It's crazy. There's so many. You're right. Like, look at the deep, rich Latino mythology that you could tap into, that you could make, universal. There's so many great stories that have not been told. Like everybody, I think on Midnight Edge, they did a thing on Zorro and how it's been part of the culture forever. It's like there are many, many more stories that you could modify, set in a new setting, and use all the great storytelling that's there. And it doesn't have to be just, oh, this is a Latino story. It's like, no, this is mythology.
Or I was thinking about it. The smart company that options Danny Trejo's book, that is going to be a great film.
Yeah, I love him.
Oh my god,
Cheeks can do stuff now. No, I agree with you guys 110%. I think that we're at a good time here. I think that we're going to see some exciting things. Gino X 1987 sent us $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Have any of you seen Beyond the Black Rainbow? Excellent modern classic. I have not. Have you, Paulie, Tom? I think Andre's away, but yeah.
I'm looking that up. I would like to know more about that. Is there any way they could say, is it a recent film, a modern classic? I'm not familiar with it. Let's see. I am looking it up.
What's it? Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Looks like it's from 2010.
2010 Canadian science fiction horror.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Oh, by Pantos, the guy who did. Didn't he do Mandy? I don't know. No, I don't know. People say. Let's see. Let me see who.
Yeah, he did Mandy. Writer.
Yeah. No, I missed that. I'd have to check that out.
Oh. No, I haven't. I've never even heard of it.
No,
thanks for the recommendation.
Thanks for the heads up.
There
Looks
you go.
nice and creepy.
There's a good independent
Mrs. Slant
recommendation.
will love it. Mrs. Slant loves those movies.
Now, this was a newer super chat, but I'm going to jump in some of the older ones here. Let's see here. Michael Gonzalez sent in $5. Ben Shapiro loves original trilogy. We were dropping comments on his live show about a Daily Wire made Star Wars with Gina. He took us seriously. Well, maybe.
Yeah, I've heard he's a nut for the original trilogy. I mean, he's just a movie fan, which is probably why he dipped his toe into it. But I've heard that he's a huge fan of the original trilogy.
Well, I remember he had one of the all-time best takedowns of Last Jedi, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think I did. Yeah, actually, I did see something of that on YouTube.
Because like I said, once in a while, Ben Shapiro, I'm not a big fan of a lot of his stuff, whatever, but sometimes he just drops some shit that's just like, you can't argue with it, or it's just like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking,
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not into the hard politics and the daily of DC, but I do like some of the take on Hollywood, and more importantly, making us aware of the very subtle messaging and how it is basically doing the same kind of subtle brainwashing messaging underneath everything, that there is a sameness to everything, and he will sometimes lift the veil on that. You'll be like, you know what, they're right, there's a lot of that message that's underneath, and currently, of course, it's the anti-male, toxic male, all these things that are just kind of built in, where it's like, it's heroic to say something bad about us, it's there, and it's nice to have somebody point a finger at it occasionally.
I mean, heaven forbid they do a movie about a strong father.
Yes.
And he's just being a father and taking care of his family, being the heavy lifter of his family. Shame on him.
I know. Or
whether he's white or not.
Yeah, exactly. Whether he's white or not. and
don't
even
get me started, boy.
Yeah, or even look at how many movies are there recently about male friendship? Like real male masculine friendship.
Bromances, yeah.
Nothing.
No, and as a single father, I did not see a lot of representation of myself on screen. So there you go. That's a good point, Polly. Yeah. And I'm white. So there you go.
Yes, you are. Alita heaven forbid, a lead of the film, the lead,
Mhm.
the heroine loved Chris Walt's character and called him her father at the
Yes.
end. How
Yeah.
dare they?
How dare they do that? Where's the female influence? Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío, man.
Yep.
I don't know.
And it's subtle, but it's there. Yeah.
I don't know what that voice, Christoph Waltz, might get me to call him Daddy too. You never know.
He does have a
man,
great
yeah.
voice.
Yeah, he does. I love his delivery.
I do too.
Him and Tarantino were like a match made in heaven. He's like the white Samuel Jackson.
Yeah. And the thing is, he hit late in his life, but you can tell he's enjoying every minute of it.
Oh God, yes. Yes. I mean, he's been in a few movies, and I don't know. Andre made an argument one time that he's not. I think it was Andre who made an argument that he's not as good if he's not with Tarantino. But I don't know. He's done all right.
Yeah, he's done fine. And you know what? He's having fun doing it, and he's both a character guy, but also he's a very gifted actor in disappearing into different roles. But he can also kind of carry a movie, so it's very rare. Very rare.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bingo.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to think of heterosexual friendships in a film. It's like
I know.
Like,
it kills me, man, because
not
it's
many
either they
anymore.
make fun of it or it doesn't happen or
they're
or-
shit
Bill
on.
and Ted was
Yeah.
the last good one probably here.
Which
But
one?
Bill and Ted, but that was also a sequel to a classic film. So there you
Yeah.
go.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
and
Oh,
truly
you haven't seen Bill and
independent.
Ted 3 yet? It was pretty good.
Didn't see it. Why don't cancel me?
Well, I ain't gonna cancel it.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. All right. Well, thank
I
you for
love
that.
you, man. Yeah, I love you, man.
Oh yeah, there was that was a couple that died. That was what?
10 years ago.
God, at
Yeah, at least
least.
10 years ago.
Great
Well,
film.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Duh.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Again, an indie
My
film.
favorite
though, really.
movie of 2019. Technically, I guess, even though it was Sony released it, but yeah. I don't know if you
no studio would have made that movie. Let's
I
be
love how
honest.
you can call it. I love how you can still call Tarantino technically independent still. Motherfuckers
that's
making
because-
$200 million movies, but
But you think about it, he only does his own scripts, and he has never done something that's in the studio. Like that movie would never have grown up in development in the studio system.
Oh,
That is
no.
an auteur film. So
Man,
by definition, he's like,
no way.
yeah, he's like Nolan. It's like he develops his own thing and then happens to have great distribution. And that's
that's
very,
cool.
very different. There's only a few people that can do that.
Yeah, and you're not going to find a bigger Tarantino fan than me, at least on this stream at the moment, probably because my wallet says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Is it really?
It does.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's cool. That's cool.
I actually kind of have a funny story about that. I'll tell sometime, but yeah. Actually, fuck it. I'll tell it right now. In the wallet is I have the license of Jules from the movie. That's what it came. It's like a novelty thing. It's a real leather wallet replica from the movie. So it even comes with his license. I'm not thinking about it. I had that license on top of mine because I was showing people the wallet or whatever when I got it. When I went to the store and all of a sudden I got pulled over on my way home. I couldn't figure out what the fuck. And then the cop's talking to me about something or other. And he's like, he looks at my wallet and he's like, "This isn't you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." It's like, it's a joke thing. Like, he's like that. He got it right away. And he's like, "All right, we got a weird call that you possibly were using a stolen credit card and had a stolen wallet." Because the lady at the counter had saw the Jules picture in there and thought I stole the wallet from some black guy.
And you thought you'd get away with it.
So the cop was laughing. Like, right away, the cop got like,
He
it was
looks
one of
just
the-
like me. Yeah.
It was the fun. I got to give the guy credit because he, like I said, he got it right away. So first of all, he was cool. So I didn't even have like that moment of like, like what the fuck is going on here? And I've had some cops that'll just do, they jump to conclusions real quickly before you even get a chance to explain anything sometimes.
Right.
And luckily this guy like you say, he knew the movie, he saw it, and he just couldn't stop laughing. He kind of told me, and he's like, "Go out, you have a good day," whatever. Because next time, it might be a better idea if you put your other ID in front of the other one next time. So I gotta give him credit for that. That was funny. That happened to me like last week.
That is funny. That is funny. That somehow you would think you could get away with it is even funnier. This lady's like, he can't get away with that.
What was funny is it's just like Hey, you know what? I'm glad the lady did. You know that? I mean, at least I got to say nobody did anything wrong in the situation besides me. Okay, like I take full responsibility. It was my fucking fault. You know, I should have put I should have put it back where or put it away or whatever. Not have that in front, because I open my wallet and it's right there's the Samuel and it looks like a legit license.
Right.
So like I can totally understand where in a flash, like me pulling the thing out, and the lady did kind of act funny now that I thought about it when I did, because she was kind of hesitant. Like at first, like she kept looking at me funny, and then she's like whatever, and she ran it. But what was funny is she ran it and didn't ask me for my ID. That's what bothered me, because I've worked in retail before. I don't know why she just didn't do that. You know what I mean? But it would have ended there. But no, it's just like, because if you look at my license, has my name, same as my car, So it was just one of those things that could have been way worse, but I was just.
Of course. Yeah, it could have gone south.
Since we had a few minutes, though, because Andre was away, I figured I might as well fuck it. It's a good time to tell that story.
That's a great story.
Yeah, my wallet's the one that says bad motherfucker on it. You can keep the money. I just want the wallet.
The wallet.
So anyway, thank you so much for being patient with that story, guys. We have some super chats to get through, though. I don't think Andre's back yet. Let's see here. We were on Michael last, I believe. So David Stout sent us $5, says, "Hey, Tom and Andre and Rob," and well, this must have been earlier. Sorry it took us so long to get to it. "Thank you very much. Gina is love. And Tom, me and my nephew are both autistic. You guys are awesome." Oh, thank you so much, David. You must have been listening last night. I appreciate that. Or, well, if you listen to me long enough, I've said it a few times, so probably. But yeah, I appreciate the support. Thank you. Thunderstorm says, "I find it disturbing a former employee can publicly denigrate you in a public way, claiming you're a bigot without proof." That's a very good point. That's something we don't see on a normal basis, probably in you would call the private sector, I guess. Because Paulie, Tom, like if you and I and everybody worked at a business together, and let's say I got fired and Paulie just decided to go talk some shit about me online, I'd pretty much have a basis for like a libel or a defamation suit kind of thing, probably. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, I think that would be, or people would take that seriously enough, I think, without any proof, especially. But when it comes to Hollywood, it just kind of happens willy-nilly. So, Paulie, let me grab your feelings on this first, because then I'm sure Tom will have a little bit more to say about this. Yeah. So, how do you think that that should be viewed? Do you think people in Hollywood should be held by different standards, kind of like they are? Because I do kind of see that. Same thing with politics, for that matter.
Well, I mean, yeah, they are. I mean, we worship the false idols, and for me myself, I don't like worshiping celebrities. The problem is that and people in Hollywood is that you put them on a pedestal, and then they tend to get away with a lot that regular normal people don't get away with and have to be responsible for, and and they just live in a different reality at times. So
it's funny they have a different kind of accountability considering they're in the public, though. That's what's weird.
So that's my answer.
Tom. Yeah,
I could go deeper, but I ain't.
Yeah, but I have a feeling Tom's probably going to say a lot of things you may say too, probably here. So
yeah, I was going to say, there's two kinds of defamation. There's libel, which is written defamation, and then there's slander, which is verbal. And when you make something that's defamatory online and social media, like on LinkedIn or whatever, unfortunately, laws and even the morality of it hasn't caught up. So it's what state laws apply. I'd have to look at in California, and if you're a defamer,
you have to prove some kind of damage or loss as well.
Yeah, you have to prove that. And social media is a great place. It's a breeding ground for libelous statements. So I think that people speak their mind too easily, but also they should be protected Twitter is a double-edged sword. You can fire off a thought that 5 minutes later you're like, I wish I hadn't said that, but it goes out to the world. But also Twitter is a great way for, an artist to reach out directly to their fans or fans to give feedback. It's really a problem because you have to decide what's defamatory, and then you have to find out what state laws apply and whether you can sue, because the defamation has somebody like Gina could say, well, what my contract was worth you've taken away from me, and by defaming me you've potentially eliminated my chance of earning X amount of dollars in the future. But by the same token, look, she's already made a lateral to something like Daily Wire. She might make the same bank that she would with her contract there, to which Disney would say, well, we decided to get rid of you, and you've already made a deal making the same amount of money, so you really didn't suffer economically. So it's very, very hard to sort it out, because it's not like the old days when you do a newspaper article or something on someone and defame them, and you could go after the newspaper for that. Now we're in social media where one comment ends up on 100 platforms, and each one of those platforms is not held accountable. By definition, when you join a platform, it says we are not held accountable for defamation or libels things. So it's a really tough one to go through the weeds with. So I guess I did have a lot to say.
I kind of figured you would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference. Shouting fire in a crowded theater is the old example of where that you don't have the right to do it. But anything else, you should have the right. You should have the right to have a differing opinion. You should have these things, as long as you're not inciting, go hurt this guy, go hurt Tom or something. You should be able to say what you want to say in the marketplace of free ideas, or we're really not free. It's not diversity if you only can say things that you agree with.
Right? Yeah.
And this reminds me of what we were talking about earlier, and I wanted to comment in regards to, like, had Gina, said these things, 10, 15 years ago, there would be no other avenues. Her career would be done.
Yeah.
The only difference is that up until 10, 15 years ago, it was pretty easy for Hollywood to control and suppress any of that information coming out to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It
never would have hit. You're right. It never would have hit.
It never would have hit.
Yeah.
And for it to have hit, it would have taken, like, someone being there, or someone that's outside, like a reporter, who would never be there, and they would never talk to a reporter. Yeah. So that's just the big difference. I mean, those story suppressions have been going on in Hollywood since Hollywood started.
Yeah, look at LA Confidential, the suppression or planting of information to either, help someone's career or destroy someone. There were entire industries around that.
Yeah.
And
right.
Your publicist would have approved everything. Your image was completely controlled. They decided whether it got out that you got arrested.
And to be honest, I really don't think there's anything Gina has to stand on right now, because the problem with a lot of this is, you have a lot of weird business sense where, like, Disney as a business is almost like a personal entity, in a sense that they're protected under certain things as well. And then, like, the way this message came out, who is she going to sue? We don't have a name attached to it. They just said that they felt that the message that was sent out, or whatever, the post, was abhorrent and all that kind of stuff. So, like, it's more of an opinion, and you can't really go after somebody for that. Now, see, the problem is like, yeah, like Will Veneer is saying here, defamation is very tough to fight in public figures. Interfering with contracts is a much lower bar to leap. And that's the thing. She had no contracts. And she would have to go out of her way to have to prove that this whole entire thing really damaged her career in a way that I'm not sure that she can win in court, especially in this atmosphere.
Well, I think also too, that's usually what people at the end of their careers do, is they sue, right?
Yeah.
Or they're kind of done.
Well, and I just don't see her doing it, right?
Well, no, she's taking the high road.
Well, yeah, there's
which is she always
walk
has.
away. Yeah, walk away.
And
move on, live well.
And made a movie deal. I mean, God bless him. God bless her, man.
Yeah.
That's I want her to succeed.
Yeah, let her make her movie.
Right.
Yeah, and that's better than wasting your time going after
Absolutely. So Thunderstorm, I think you got your $4.99 worth out of that one. Troy Pacelli, if I'm saying it right, sends in $5. The Hollywood elite like to use their platform to proselyte. I'm not going to say this word right. I know what it means, but I can't say proselytize. Did I get it? There we go. Their SJW message. They shouldn't be surprised then when the other side does too. That's a good point, and I don't disagree with you, but I also feel like if there's one area that like Ben and those guys, if they are going to do this, they should really make a point is by not going into, and that's what I was saying earlier, not going to the other extreme. That I think would be a big mistake. I think the last thing we need is a bunch of right wing movies out there, because then it's just the same, more of the same, just in the other direction. I want Ben to prove a point, and the rest of whoever he works with besides Gina to prove a point by saying, look, we're going to make good, entertaining films that tell good stories without any kind of agenda behind them politically. The only agenda behind them is to entertain you and make money. That's what I want. I don't give a shit. I'll take 100 Garbage Kids movies any day of the week over any of the shit we've gotten in the last, and that's a plug for you, Paulie, for Saturday.
Oh, I just can't believe you said that.
Any day of the week, and I'll get back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Than I will any of the shit we've gotten lately. You want to know why? Because even though that movie was made completely and only for money, and it was also made to just entertain. It wasn't to send some really weird political message. And that movie even has a message in it. And we'll get to that Saturday on Paulie's stream. If you want to plug that real quick, Paulie, before Tom says what he wants to say. Sorry.
Tomorrow noon Pacific on the Latino Slant channel. Join Tom from Midnight's Edge and myself as we go through a slanted cinema.
Movies to lose friends by.
Yes, tomorrow, Howard the Duck and Garbage Pail Kids.
Little People in Costumes was my theme.
Little People in Costumes movie night. I love that.
You're welcome to come as well, Tom Kane.
If you've seen the films and you want to wax about them, we're talking about the best, worst movies ever, and that was my picks for this week. I got to pick.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Howard the Duck.
That means he's not coming.
Howard the Duck and Garbage Pail Kids the movie. There we go.
That's awesome.
I have not seen Garbage Pail Kids the movie. I have not seen
it. It might even be free on YouTube because it's an MGM.
It'd have to be.
And all their movies are like on YouTube.
Not even might. It'd have to be free.
Shit.
Is it like good or bad?
Tom owes me money.
Oh, you paid for it? I will.
No. I'm just for my time. God.
Your time is money.
Yeah, well, shoot, Howard the Duck. You know what? Let's just not get into.
You're not going to get that time back.
That's what the show's for, Paulie.
Don't
give it away. Give it away. Don't give it away.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So join us tomorrow for that. And Tom, as you were going to say, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, a friend of mine also had a movie wanted to talk about a movie, and he gave me these movies that were just really obscure. There's one obscure Western movie or something, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, I'm not getting this time back. And then they want to talk about it, and I was like trying to find something nice to say, and I said something that just, I couldn't believe was coming out of my mouth. I went, well, I mean, the hats were really good in it. I'm like trying to find something to say. Like, had those were some honcho hats they were wearing.
That reminds me of my review I just had of the Wayne's World thing. It was like, the Dana Carvey can still play Garth. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. But they wore some really nice hats in that movie. That was about it.
Nice hat. I like this hat. This hat anchors a lot of people. I don't know why. Right.
This hat was pivotal.
That was
but speaking of hats and pivotal,
let's try to get.
Absolutely. Let's try.
I only drove away about 100 people, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well then we're good.
And I left on.
How many super chats did you get?
We got
3 more.
Troy Palenci was the last one.
So Roger Haynes.
Okay, so then we are at Roger Haynes.
Yes.
Who said, maybe the timing of the firing was more related to the fact that it wouldn't be reflected at the investors' meeting. I'm inclined to believe that was, I don't think that they did it deliberately. I think that that they saw, okay, here's a post that we don't like. Now let's take advantage of the opportunity. Honestly, I think that this firing was done by someone, well, not firing, but like this announcement was done by someone in Lucasfilm that had absolutely no tact, no tone. I don't think they cleared it with corporate, because I don't think that, and I don't even think that they were aware.
So it
of
was
the
Leslie
investor
Headland.
the same day. Yes. Yeah, kind of.
When you said no
Conkle,
tact or whatever,
yeah.
I knew it
Yeah.
had.
Conkle, what do you think about that? That the ones who put out the statement from Lucasfilm maybe wasn't even aware of the Disney Investor Day.
Yes, this interestingly, this echoes sort of what happened with the James Gunn firing, in that most of the people at the top, or at least in management that made the decision, were surprised to wake up to find out someone had made that decision to let him go. I know that meetings had happened. We had talked about this. Meetings had happened over a regular basis about what was going on, so it certainly was on people's radar. But the fact that there wasn't a particular voice or a particular person put to the announcement means that either they're hiding behind a sort of committee mentality that happened, or somebody had an emotional response and said, "No, I'm putting it out. I'm doing it," and they did it, but they didn't assign a name to it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe it was something along those lines. Yeah, and then we had Peter Hahn sending us $5 Canadian for the Coors Banquet collar. Well, thank you so much. And Boyle Des sent us 5 Bulgarian levs. Guys, do you think she knew this was coming no matter what? So she worked with friends from the inside to reveal the real face of Disney and Lucasfilms. I think that's assigning a little bit to intention, probably. I don't know. Uncle, what do you think? And Paulie, what do you guys think? Was Gina playing 4D chess here and trying to expose how horrible they were, and she knew she had this backup out anyway?
I don't know. I think she's her own woman, so she probably was getting annoyed that she probably got lots of memos, lots of calls over the last 6 months of, "Hey, stop that, and don't do that, and you're not in line," or whatever. I don't know that it was so calculated. I don't know if she knew that would be the final straw. To be honest with you, I think it was much more organic. I think she was who she was, and she was like, "Look, I'm me, take it or leave it." I thought, I could have my voice, and Pedro could have his voice, and Carl could have his voice, and all the people on the show can do it. She probably just threw things out there that she was thinking about or said, and didn't realize how close she was to the edge. I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen with her until very recently. It started heating up, and then they were looking for a reason to do this.
Paulie, what do you think?
When was the last time they filmed The Mandalorian? Like, she was
About a year ago.
Yeah, it wrapped right before the pandemic.
There wasn't anything since then. It seemed in some of the no. Oh, okay.
No, they were in a long post. They did post for at least 5 months.
Because Rodriguez put up something in last May, that they had just filmed with the Baby Yoda, his episode. Point being is that the question is it? I always assumed that they had shot another season already.
No, they haven't.
For some reason, there's a lot of people who think that.
Yeah.
But no, they're filming Boba Fett first, and then Mandalorian season 3. And per Drunk 3PO, per Gina herself, said that season 3 was supposed to be about the Siege of Mandalore. She wasn't even going to be in that anyway. Now, we don't know anything else about that other show or not. Now, we're just suspecting that there could have been something going on there. But yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it wrapped about 5 days before the lockdown, Polly.
Yeah, it's just so confusing, right? Because I'm always thinking about timelines, with production. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then 2020 did a number on everybody, including Lucasfilm, the people there. So I gotta think that she knew she knew there was some writing on the wall, but I don't think she really cares. She's always been an independent woman. You know, I mean, she's an MMA champ. I mean, you don't get to that level by being
Just following. Yeah.
by being what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think right now.
Beta. You don't get
Tom said it best, a follower or a beta. Yeah.
She's just an independent person, right?
Yeah,
So,
she's a very strong, independent, brave, and stunning woman.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. So
In the true sense of the words. And that's why they hate her.
Exactly.
Well, anytime you're not towing the corporate line or you're not towing the the politically correct line, you're going to get pushback. And unfortunately, what I hate about it is the hypocrisy. It's like everybody talks about, oh, it's all inclusive, all different thoughts, diversive thoughts, everybody's included, but it really isn't. It's okay to hate certain people. It's okay to do this or that. And then it's not to have other ideas. Or if you're not insulated from ideas, like ideas should not be that dangerous. If you have your own philosophy, if I'm sitting here talking to Polly and he feels strongly about something, nothing I say is going to make him go, you're right. I'm going to stop doing it or believing it. It's like you go, okay, that's your idea. I've got my idea. I'm going to think about it logically and decide what I come up with. But I don't want to hear an echo chamber of just, yep. Yeah, no, that's what I think too. That's what I think too. I'd rather hear other ideas. And he's not going to change me fundamentally about something that I want. He's just going to respect my idea. I'm going to respect his idea. But to think you're so fragile that just tweeting an idea out is going to start this mass panic of, changing your philosophy. That's so naive.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to work on myself, and I talk about it all the time on my channel, and I think it's important in that being coming on over 6 years sobriety. I really believe people can change. It just takes a lot of work, and a big part of that for me is I want to listen to people I don't agree with. I want to see am I ignorant to this? Because maybe I've been ignorant to this idea because I was so stuck in being right. And so I wanted to be ahead. It was so important to be right.
Yeah.
That I was like, it's enlightening. There's some things where where if you don't, because you're so into your ego and yourself, and then and then the drug of your approval, which is a powerful drug in Hollywood, that drug of your approval.
Yeah.
You're not going to grow. You're not going to change or see another person's perspective on the world. What the fuck? And excuse my language. I'm sorry, but I get really upset.
No, you make a good point.
There's no excuse. You can swear.
Well, I'll when we'll travel, me and Mrs. Slant travel a lot. And we travel to the South a lot because we have relatives there. Come back, and what I always get from people in LA is like, "Oh man, you went where? Did you get a lot of races? Got a lot of racism?" I said, "We ain't getting any of that. We got the opposite. It's called Southern hospitality. These people are amazing, and I look different than them. They look different than me. I don't give a shit. You guys are going."
It just reminds me the other day. No, you're fine, man. Like, no, it just reminds me. There was this tweet where this guy was like, "Oh, you guys just are sad that you can't. You remember a time when it was okay to be bigots and racist against marginalized people?" And it's like, how fucking old do you think we are?
Yeah, Was I on the plantation in the 1800s?
Yeah, like what the fuck?
My family didn't even live in America then.
I wasn't born in the 80s, man. Come on, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, but see, that's the kind of attitude that you look. It's like, oh, there's a white guy. He's automatically racist. He automatically doesn't look at other points of view. It's all that. I mean, those are the same assumptions that they're saying is a problem.
Well,
until we can progress past all of that and stop introducing each other by what we look like or our background, you're going to hear about it.
It's not like I've been around since the early 1900s. Like you just said.
I don't even know anybody.
When I was a kid, we used to be racist and nobody said shit.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Hey, Polly, where are you from? Polly, where are you from?
Where are you from? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I could be friends with you. Yeah.
Latino slant?
Italian or something?
Yeah. What do you got? What is he? Italian?
In my case, at least, it's blatantly obvious. So
That's right.
um,
Hey, I'm mostly Nordic Norwegian, by the way, too, Andre.
oh, nice, very.
I had
good.
the 23andMe, and I was really surprised how much it was. It was UK, Scotland, and all of Northern Europe. It was
Not too
interesting.
surprised with the way
The Vikings got around.
you can.
That's
do that
right.
accent so well that like I said, I was convinced that you were British.
Oh, yeah, I work as a Brit almost as much as an American.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, there you go. But gentlemen, we have a few more super chats to go through here. So let's try to go through those. Joe Pat 87 says for $4.99. Anyone whose side can dictate what the consequences are has no right to use the freedom from consequences argument. I think this is a good point.
It's a very good point.
And Cultured Casino sent us a super sticker of a little unicorn, so thanks for that. Also, thanks for the super sticker that you sent the moment that we went to put this chat live, which was like 2 days ago. You sent a super sticker already then, so yeah, thanks so much for that. And Straight White Mage says, Disney did not lie. They attempted to save face, a standard Eastern practice. Disney just happens to be very bad at it. Yeah, they need to clean up their PR game for sure. And Al Manuel 0311 says, Daily Wire presents Cash Grab the movie. I disagree with that. I think that it will be profitable for them, but I don't think that they do this just as a cash grab. I mean, Daily Wire, they worked with Birch Gold and stuff. There are other things that they could do for cash grabs other than this. This is more ideologically driven than it's driven by a cash grab. I mean, there's risk involved in this, big risk, and they do it anyway. So this is more than a cash grab. That's what I think. Tom, what do you think?
I think that everyone should be grabbing for cash. There's nothing wrong with that. I think they were already internally developing some projects. She probably had some stuff she really wanted to do. So yes, as a business consideration, it's called show business and not show friendship. But I do think it's more than a cash grab. I think it is an opportunity to go, look, if you get kicked out of this club, there's other clubs.
I mean, this is going to be a rude awakening for Hollywood, man. I mean, it already has been, even before 2020 happened. The whole movie theater system itself was being redone, rewritten, and now, I'm happy. I'm actually happy because I think a lot of great art is going to come out of this, great movies, and even better movie theaters that are going to be independent.
I think you're right. And people like you and I can start self-distributing or getting our work out without so many middlemen, without so many vetting, without so many things that compromise. How nice it is to have your work go out, right or wrong. Some of my stuff's going to stink, some of it's going to be good, but at least it wasn't made by a committee of people who didn't even want to see it in the first place.
Exactly. There you go. And Mech1164 says, what Gina did is point out what the left doesn't want to talk about. An inconvenient truth. I think we can all agree to that. Alpha J30 says, can't be cancelled if you go independent and have a fan base who'll support you. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Ironcaster says, Cinegate sounds better in my opinion than Moviegate. While Mr. Tickletrunk says, don't call it a something gate. Too many gates. And Captain Chokeout sent us £1 British £1.99 donation. Maybe you put a text in there. If you did, it was removed. Sorry about that. And Mr. Tickletrunk says, or sends another $5 saying, Hollywood desperately needs the competition, but if we end up with a left-wing and right-wing media, that'll be a worse place than we're in now. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to get a left-wing and a right-wing media per se. I think you're going to have a completely dominating left-wing
That's
media
pretty much what it is.
with a counter voice in there. That's not going to be dominating, but it's going to be there and it's going to be influential. That's kind of what you have already, but I think you'll have more of. Okay, you know what? Yeah, you're going to have a left-wing and right-wing media.
Can I? No,
Yeah, go
ahead.
for it.
No, Tom, go first.
I was just going to say, I think the middle ground is where most of us operate. I think things that are quote unquote conservative are often just people that embrace the sort of classic, unencumbered by some of the new progressive thought that defies logic, about maleness and femaleness and how stories are told. I think you label that conservative, but actually we need to get back to what's good storytelling. Get the messaging. The message should not overpower the story. It should not be. Well, we've got all these little things we want to tick off in these boxes. We want to do it. Oh, and we'll do a movie too. It should be we do a movie and all that stuff is buried in there. You can think about it. I would love where the left and the right could interpret the same movie and enjoy it for very different reasons.
Right.
I think we need to do that more often.
Well, yeah, entertainment used to be one of the bastions, and most like, businesses for that matter, they didn't want to like appear to be going one direction or the other.
Right.
Very rarely did they ever want to get involved in that kind of nonsense. Like normally something like this whole Gina thing would be a non-starter. Like they would just kind of ignore it. Like that's weird. And they have done that consistently with all the people who are in the one side of the aisle doing all the, name calling and comparisons. But when it comes to the other one, it's not so
acceptable.
Yeah. What I was going to say before, I just want to go back to the gate thing. I think we should all just be happy that the Watergate Hotel was where that happened. Because otherwise, if it happened like a Holiday Inn, we'd have like so many other like Comics Inn, Trank Inn. That just doesn't sound right. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, meant to be, I would say. And then Jeffrey Cardona says, I'm politically neutral, haven't or will never vote, but I hate injustice. Fire Pedro or rehire Gina. Perfectly balanced, last all things should be. Yeah, there you go. And Captain Chokeout says, Gina follows Ethan Van Sciver on Twitter. She's learned the way. And that's why I think this is a game changer. And Mr. Purple Lightsaber sent us
comparison there to what they dealt with. I really do feel like that, that she kind of faced a similar situation. But anyway, you're saying, Andre.
Yes, I was saying Mr. Purple Lightsaber sent us 2 super chats of $5 each. First one was blank, so maybe it's repeated in the second one, where he says, I think in order to save Star Wars, we need to become fans with stock. More unity with buying power. What do you think? Well, if you buy enough stock, then you absolutely have buying power. But you have to have like a few $100 million worth of it in order that your vote is actually going to matter. That's the problem. So if you have a really rich uncle, then yeah, go for it. And Sol3 UK says, the only consequence anyone should face for their opinion is that someone else might not agree. Very true. And Mags says for £5, whether anyone agrees with Ben Shapiro or not, in my opinion, he and his company won't restrict her voice, like Disney and Lucasfilm has done. Oh no, I think they'll do the opposite. I think they're going to say, you know what? Now you can rump it up to 11 in social media.
Yeah, say what's on your mind, and people can make their own decision whether they want to watch it. Yeah.
Because I think that Ben Shapiro knows that he and Carano, they are on the same page, and she's not going to post anything that's out of brand for the Daily Wire. but that's going to be very on brand for the Daily Wire, because, like, face it, all of her tweets and stuff like that, it's horrendous in Hollywood, but by Daily Wire standards, for the people associated with that, it's par for the course. That's at least my understanding of it. Tom, what do you think?
I think you're right. I think the intersectional and all the putting social justice in scripts ahead of the script quality itself is the whole problem. That she not only needs to be on brand in the production she's doing, and Mandalorian appealed to anyone, from right or left or whatever. It's just a story, and it may have elements of both philosophies, but the fact that she didn't fall in line where it's like, hey, you got to put pronouns on there right now you got to do this, now you got to do that. It's like, how dare someone stand up and say, you know what, I choose not to do something. It's not to offend you. I don't hate anybody. I'm not doing anything, but you can't force me to do it. And then just the mob comes out. You're going to lose. And now she has a different place to call home. So, if she's responsible with her tweets and she puts them out, I see no reason why there'll be a conflict with the people she has a relationship with. And maybe she'll find her people and be very happy. Maybe she was being inauthentic already, trying to just kind of please too many people at once. And I think people should be who they are.
You know what I think? Before I say what I think, Polly, what do you think?
I think it's would be wonderful if whatever Shapiro and them do would really scare Hollywood. Is the more eclectic work it is.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's got to be successful. But I mean, if you can really, some people were saying, get Johnny Depp, get the other canceled people there or whatever. But just come out with some eclectic work. Then you're just like, whoa, this is for real.
Yeah, it's like, what happened here? How are you putting this stuff out? Like, are you making it friendly for the artist? What's going on here?
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, you know why I think, or part of the reason why I think this is a watershed moment? How many people working in Hollywood today, writers, directors, producers, actors, like A-level, high talented stuff, that on social media are super left-wing and all of that, how many of them are faking it? How many of them are at heart more inclined to be conservative, although they may not identify it, but they have values that certainly don't align with the extreme left that's taken over, and they are there undercover, or they're like hiding, not sticking out. If this thing with Carano is a success, and they're able to show we have a viable alternative here, how many are going to go jump ship from established Hollywood and go seek their fortune with Shapiro? That's the thing that I wonder. Because I know there are a lot of people, high-profile people, that you wouldn't think that have conservative leanings, and if some of them were to jump over. I'm not gonna for instance, imagine like a massive Disney name, a name that's associated with Disney and one of the biggest names in their stable and everything. If a person like that suddenly were to jump ship and go with Shapiro and say that now I'm going to make what I really want, where I don't have to be curtailed.
Yeah, well, I think it's not even. I think more than you think, because I know. And also, I think, honestly, it's not even that they're radically, conservative or whatever. It's just they're not radicalized to the level that you need to appear to be radicalized. It might be, meeting somebody like Pauly, I'm like, I could get along with him and make a film with him already. I can tell enough things align. He brings enough of his own flavors and stuff into it. He and I don't need to have this whole thing about pronouns and do all this. We just want to make some movies, and we do it, and we'll creep in there. And our philosophy, of course, will be part of the DNA of the story. But we may not want to make it about that. We just want to tell a story. We might want to just do a kick-ass action film together, and we'll have whatever happens in it. I think there's a lot of people that have to pretend. It's almost the opposite. You know,
Well,
there's
it's a
always
dance.
we're closeted. You know, there's a lot of
Right.
closeted people.
Correct.
And-
It's
and-
a dance.
Yeah, everybody can't just be who they are because they're afraid of being judged. You know, and it's like, well, am I black and I'm acting too white? Am I and I'm, you know, and it's all these kinds of things that I talk to my friends, and you realize we have more in common than we thought. But to the public persona, it's like, oh no, but I have to act a certain way and I have to think a certain thing or I'll never work again. You don't know how many times my friends have told me if they knew that, I'll never work again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Andre,
And I think, yeah, sir, carry on, Polly.
no, just really quick, you know, because Mrs. Slant's in the business, and there's just, you know, grounded, strong, common sense woman. There's just things she can't say.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Exactly.
You just can't say it. Yeah,
You
you
know,
can't.
Exactly.
we want to
And
work,
that's
and it's
and
like,
that's
all right,
what I
cool.
mean. Now,
Yeah.
imagine then if the Daily Wire suddenly is able to say, "Hey, guys, we have a platform here, which we now have proven is a viable one, where you can make movies, where you can make the same or similar money, and you don't have to censor yourself, and you don't have to infuse a message that you don't agree with, and you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not or believe something you don't." Imagine how
Ironically.
big that can be.
Yeah. Ironically, you'd actually have a real step towards diversity.
Yeah,
Diversity
there
of
you
thought.
have diversity of thought.
Yeah. You could have people of many different races that happen to just want to do that and not play games with the Hollywood system. And then you'd have all this diverse thought come out, all this diverse creativity come out without being judged beforehand.
And that's why I think that this could be a watershed moment. That Hollywood just might change forever. That Hollywood just got a competitor. There just came along an Apple to challenge the PC.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And they have less of a monopoly on creativity and the creative people that make it.
Yes, because as it is right now, and you know this, Hollywood is a clique. It's a very fortified thing. You have the agents, which are the gatekeepers and everything. You have to like be in the system, or you'll get nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way out of that.
Yeah. And frankly, a lot of the people in that clique is something I never wanted to be a part of. There were some types of parties and types of people that I wasn't willing to make the compromise in order to get ahead. And some people were, you know, and then they might come out later and accuse people of this or that. But it's like, hey, you were willing to do it to get in the club and I wasn't. And that's just the difference. And sometimes there's a club you don't want to be a part of. And I know you have to do what you have to do to get in and get stuff made. But there are certain compromises to whatever I have that I wasn't willing to make.
Yeah. And I'll elaborate on this much more in a very short, or in an editorial to come out soon. But yeah, that's kind of like what I'm thinking. Why I think this is bigger than anyone is seeing just yet.
And I want to address this real quick. Jonathan says, geez, how far has this gotten in the last 5-6 years? Should be easy for any of us to say it's just Star Wars or it's just a movie. Shaking my head. I wish it was that simple, though, Jonathan. And it did start out that way for a lot of people for a lot of things. But now we've reached a point where, when I said earlier in the stream, when I said Gina's post was not hyperbolic in any way, and we're seeing it in real time live action happen to her, that's what we've gotten to.
And also, if I may, it's not just a movie. Star Wars is not just a movie. Just from outside, you know what I see? I'm from Norway. We have our Norse mythology. We have our fairy tales with trolls and everything like that. We may not have much else, but we have that. That's our cultural heritage. Most countries have some equivalent of that. They have it in Greece. They have like all their national mythology. America, which is a relatively recent nation, assembled together by bits and pieces for everywhere else, doesn't have that. Your mythology has been created in the last 100 years. And that, which many dismiss as is just a movie. Yeah, you have some indie stuff like that. That's just a movie. But then you have other things that may have started as just a movie, but they took it that one other step and they became the national myth and legend. That's what Star Wars is. It's not just a movie. From my perspective, that's your cultural heritage. That's the American cultural heritage. Just as the pulp magazines of the 30s that introduced Lovecraft, that introduced Poe, that introduced The Shadow, that introduced Conan, all of these things that would later set the stage for superheroes, for the Phantom, for Superman, for Batman, in that order, building upon it. That's the American mythology. That's the equivalent of the Greek mythology, the Norse mythology. There's your American mythology. It's important. It matters. Star Wars is not just a movie. That's my take. It's someone from outside. Feel free to...
Yeah,
it's a good take.
It's gone beyond the movies too. That's kind of what I was saying as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I felt that way about certain properties at first, and even ones that I was a big fan of, and I just felt like, you know what, that's it. It's just not for me anymore. But then things didn't feel right, especially when I was being told, I was a woman hater and and a racist and all this other bullshit. I'm like, something ain't right. And the first few times I rubbed it off, or whatever you want to call it, or shrugged it off. After that, though, I just couldn't anymore. Especially like when we got to like Star Wars and stuff. Because even though I enjoyed The Force Awakens, I was still going, yeah, but I didn't like what they did to Han, and Rey's a bit of a Mary Sue. And the moment you say that, there was a bunch of people, oh, you're just a woman hater.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. It's like, I just don't like the character. She happens to be a female. If it was a guy written that way, I'd have the same problem.
Yeah,
like, how is he using the Force like that?
Rubbing it off. I should have watched my phrasing.
but taking it back to what you guys said in the comments and getting back on track to that, Mr. Tickletrunk says, I'm desperate to know what the next Star Wars or Star Trek will be if we get even more production companies like this. I want original IPs so badly. And I think you're going to get, it's going to take a few more years, but I think you're going to get it. Gendro Genesis says, no more fighting fair and square. Time to get down and dirty. And that's, again, what I think Ben Shapiro and Gina Carano just did. Oh, this is just the beginning. You wait and see. I'm convinced that everything just changed. We just didn't see it yet. Master Clockwork says, you'll never win by playing by their rules because they'll change them the moment you get ahead. You've got to play by your own rules. And again, that's someone funded outside the Hollywood system can do. Daryl Brewer says, for $15, thank you so much. Wouldn't it be ironic that Disney decides to offload Lucasfilm due to this Gina issue and Daily Wire picking it up? I don't think that Daily Wire has the billions required, but it would be ironic. That's for certain. And Thanatos Felicitas says for $5, it's too late for a Black Widow movie. It should have come out at least 5 years ago. It's hard to disagree with that. And Imperial Lumpia says for $19.99. Thank you so much. Back to a previous point for a bit. Fans are taking matters into their own hands. The Warhammer community is making their own films that can contend with Hollywood, like Astartes, Death of Hope, Hell's Reach, etc. So yeah, everyone check that out, and we probably have to before long because people keep going on about Warhammer. And Mackenzie Lambert says, Disney doesn't tolerate Carano's tweets, yet tolerates Mulan's actress support of China's internment camps. Yeah, because they pay the bills, don't they? And Mags says for another $5, do you think this is the KK faction flexing their muscles, knowing they were losing their control with High Republic failure and Favreau crowd rising? I think this was a situation that was completely out of control for all involved. I think maybe the Kennedy faction thought they had control, but I think they've realized right now that they lost it. That's what I think. Conkle?
Yeah, I think they're going to realize that this was a very spontaneous and emotional reaction. Possibly, I think this is just showing that there's chaos. I mean, think about it. Just a month or two ago, we were celebrating that they had done something right. They had Luke come back. We had this kind of, we were talking optimistically about Star Wars, and then sure enough, they found a way to shoot it in the foot by having this kind of bad press run it, and they're alienating their fan base. And it only took a month or two.
Yeah, they keep cutting their nose off despite their face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was kind of rooting for him. I was like, when that last episode dropped, I was like, okay, maybe we're back on track. And then they announced all the stuff they wanted to do, and I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Because I was a Star Wars fan, but I feel like now if Star Wars came out, we'd be talking about the black voice of Darth Vader, as James Earl Jones, or we'd be talking about how unfortunate it is that Luke seems to be white, male, and not gay. It's sort of like, just talk about the movie.
You mean he's not gay?
Yeah, I mean, they're already doing that with Kirk, and it's sort of like, why?
They're doing it with
you rest assured that he's going to be gay in Strange New Worlds.
Well, we already talked about Luke too, so
difference. Yeah. So yeah.
To what end? To what end?
For the cause.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Primal Plasma says corporate America is weird, and it's very possible that could happen. They can replace everyone with Kevin Feige. Star Wars winning pattern already set. And Michael Gonzalez says for $2, back from Shapiro show. I'm going to watch that myself afterwards. The Gina deal is real. And Vigilante Williamson says, Polly, hail, Latino slant. So yeah, and we're really happy to have Polly and Latino slant here with us, all of us. And Christopher Tock says for $10, so many people still shitting on Gina via social media. Really sad that people just don't understand why people are upset about this. Appreciate Andre and Tom. You guys are great. Oh, thank you. And Shogun Gaming sent us 14 Danish krona in a super sticker with unicorn, so tusen takk. And BK0271 says for $2 Canadian, is there any rumors of KK's fate brought up at Q1? No, there wasn't. So
no.
As far as we know, she'll still serve out her term. And beyond that, who knows?
I didn't watch. I was told it was pretty benign and boring.
It was very benign and boring. It was nothing to report really. So literally, it's nothing to see move along here. We covered it before. There's no more.
Yeah.
Thinking Out Loud says for $10, Black Magic and Sony cameras under the $5,000 range now rival $50,000 cinema cameras from a decade ago. Blender, DaVinci Resolve, massive untapped creative communities. A lot can happen.
Yeah,
that's true. Access to equipment is everything. When you're creative, you just want to have the tools to make it and the sandbox to play in, and technology has allowed that to happen. Hollywood knows they're less and less necessary. The place where they're really necessary is the deep pockets of advertising. And as we get direct access to audiences, they become less necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I remember the director who said it, but there was somebody who said on some panel one time, he pulled out his phone and he's like, this right here. He's like, one of you kids in this audience even could have been the one. One of you kids is going to make a movie with this one of these days, and it's going to be huge. And that even goes back to, like, speaking of Tarantino earlier, I was watching, if you ever see the behind the scenes stuff on Pulp Fiction, there's a bit there with Bruce Willis and whoever, I don't know who's behind the camera, but somebody, the camera they're using is just, your standard VHS camcorder to record stuff. And Bruce Willis is like, one of these days, some kid's going to make a movie on that thing and it's going to make millions of dollars. A few years later, we get the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
There you go. And the Fesma93 says, even though the damage is done, is it likely that KK shows on Disney Plus won't be as successful as the Mandalorian shows? Oh, I think that's a given. I think the audience will see right through it.
Well, I think it's funny that the WandaVision isn't even as big as Mandalorian, according to that thing I showed earlier about where the shows in streaming place, and Cobra Kai beat them all, which was, I'm sure, surprising to a lot of people. So, but not as surprising to me.
Yeah, Cobra Kai is great.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, Netflix has a much bigger audience. That was what
Yeah.
I was trying to argue with some people as well.
Yeah, and they do.
And then Geno X 1987 wonders, have any of you seen Beyond the Black Rainbow? Excellent modern classic.
We actually covered that earlier. We haven't. Have you?
I looked it up. I will check it out. It's by the
No,
guy
I
who
was
did
asking
Mandy.
Andre, sorry, but yeah, like we had already
I
covered.
have not. No, I haven't.
I was hoping you had, so I was glad you read that again. But okay, so that answers the question. None of us have, but we were happy to get the recommendation. I guess it's from the same creator, Andy, if I'm not mistaken.
It looks creepy good.
Yeah, excellent. I'll check it out.
Yeah, cool. We'll check it out. Michael Gonzalez says, Daily Wire's show host Andrew Klavan has been involved in Hollywood since the 80s, wrote True Crime for Eastwood and other real IMDb credits. Yeah, I see
Oh, I
there's
didn't
some
know that.
talent there.
Yeah, I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that, but I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
Al Adolfson says for $10, thank you so much. Long-time listener, first-time contributor. Oh, we really appreciate that, and we appreciate that you listened, and especially that you contribute. That's always awesome, the interaction. That's why we do this. Tom, heard and felt your frustrations last night. Finally, someone said what needed to be said. I'm proud of you and Midnight's Edge. Hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Hashtag we love Gina.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Stephen Otten says for $5, joining late, hail Midnight's Edge and everyone in the chat. Indeed, hail. And Kevin K says for $9.99, thank you so much. I watched the original Mag 7 the other night, and there were strong themes of brotherhood and friendship, honor and sacrifice, even a young guy falling in love. Also, I'll be an extra in your film.
Huh?
Perfect.
Nice.
Meg 7? Not sure I've ever heard of it.
Magnificent Seven.
The Magnificent Seven. Oh, Jesus, yes.
Yeah, that's a guy film. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. It is. That and the Dirty Dozen, and I mean, come on.
Even the remake ain't half bad. Even though, of course, the original Magnificent Seven is itself, of course, a remake of Seven Samurai, but
which is a masterpiece. Seven Samurai, again, about a very masculine film about the interactions between the samurai, and that movie inspired so many great films,
Star Wars included.
Yeah,
Kurosawa
is amazing.
Yeah, and Cynical Lindsay, I will be doing the drag stream. Since Polly had said he was going to do it.
I brought that up to Mrs. Slant last night.
And you didn't get any?
And we were... Hey, man.
I'm kidding.
And we were with our gay friend, and he was like, let us know. We will doll you up. So I have my... we're gonna go all off.
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm ready.
Calling some favors. All right. Well, that was the thing I was gonna say. Is like, yeah, since Paulie said he was gonna do that, I was gonna try and get some guys and girls together, and I was gonna try and do the whole stream, a special charity stream. So until I get that all organized, I won't know the exact date yet. But I do plan on doing that soon. I'll let you guys know as soon as I have more to go on. I need to talk to a few more guys and gals and see who's on board first, and then set up a time. So yeah, these things take a little time. So I do apologize, but I'm not gonna weasel out of the deal. So trust me on that one. And you guys did almost double what I said anyway. So I don't think I could weasel out of the deal.
And moving on, Ruth Korean wasn't at the Capital, maybe. But anyway, Ruth Korean has a question for Tom Conkle. Don't want to derail the conversation. I remember you from an indie project called The Guild. How was Felicia and her GRP to work with?
Oh, they were fantastic people. In fact, they even let me include my son in one of the shoots. But I met them through what was becoming the community of online people that were starting to create internet series. And she was, we actually were at the same commercial agency. We had the same commercial agents for a long time. And I admired what she was putting together. She couldn't find a place for her her particular talents and what she was interested in gaming. And so she said, you know what? I'm going to just do it myself. And she and her producing partner, I believe Kim, would sit at their kitchen table and wrap DVDs and edit and put all that together. And they were just the nicest people. I ended up doing a spin-off series with Jeff, who was also in that. We did some sketch comedy stuff. They are terrific people at the Guild, and the Guild was a perfect example of using a new media, new platform to tell a story that never, ever would have gotten made through a regular TV Hollywood system.
There you go. And Nova Zero says for $10 Australian, you can yell fire in a crowded theater. It's fundamentally misunderstood. It's yelling fire when there is no fire and your intention is to cause panic. That's not allowed. And Eric Joseph says for $10 thank you so much. Disney stock is still higher than Monday. How much are financiers willing to risk on Gina? She's not that big. Her acting isn't that great. Can she carry a movie? What budget, realistically?
You know, I would argue that sure, she doesn't have the greatest chops yet, but she's getting better. And she was such a presence in Deadpool that I remembered her from that.
She
And
has
the Soderbergh
one of the highlights in Deadpool.
Yeah, and in a movie that was actually very, very well done. Like, I mean, she should have been buried in a lot of stuff, but if all the things you say are true, then I'm not worried about it because she did fine there. She's got like the Schwarzenegger thing going for her.
Exactly.
I don't think the acting chops is such a big deal, but I don't think she's that bad of an actress in the least. I think she did a great job in Mandalorian, actually.
Well, I mean, she's an action star she's not doing Shakespeare.
Right. And again, it's
Gina
all
Carano
subjective, but yeah.
Julius
She's
Caesar.
gonna do what Mila Jovovich did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she did Haywire, which was I think Soderbergh did that film or something. So yeah, so she carried that movie. She's an action star. She is she's just like any other of the 90s stars, 80s stars. She's going to play in her pocket, stretch herself a little bit, I'm sure, when she gets an interesting part. But I mean, she's only begun. If you look at the things that she's done, she's only had an opportunity to really have a voice or act in the last 5, 10 years.
No, yeah, she's done a lot of like those B-level action movies.
Yeah.
And now with The Mandalorian, she's even from the first to the second season, Mrs. Slant was a pretty good actor herself. Said that Gina's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. And now they can always say Gina from Star Wars, she can open a movie.
That's right.
Right. And like Steve Wank says here, she held her own in Deadpool very well, and she absolutely didn't look out of place at all. And not only that, like I said, she was memorable. She was a standout in an already very standout movie. So there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got the big credits, man.
I think this is going to be huge. And Mike 4229.
I said this earlier at Raptors. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Mike 42298 says Daily Wire's first movie was Run, Hide, Fight. It was a decent and intense action flick. I think Daily Wire is going the direction you want, Tom. I think so too. Yeah. And Cesario JPN says, isn't the next shareholders meeting for Disney in March? Wonder if the cancel Disney Plus hashtag or similar around that time would be worthwhile. Actually, it's not going to be worthwhile around that time. You know what's going to be worthwhile is if people stick to it. And if there is no growth between now and March, that will be worthwhile. If they can't report any growth, you see, that doesn't matter if it's running there. It's like, it's the growth. Stop the growth. That matters.
I'm curious if Winter Soldier and Falcon is going to be a big enough show to bring anybody in. I mean, do you think it'll even be more popular than WandaVision? Because I'm not sure it will be.
No,
I don't know. I hear it's going for a hard R action, so it's I'm going to reserve judgment because I don't want to denigrate the people that are making it. I don't know what it's going to be like. It could be big, it could not. I mean, if it's like a Lethal Weapon between those two guys and it's kind of hard R action, it could do all right.
We're going to get hard R action on Disney Plus.
Yeah, they're talking.
Actually,
it's really,
they're talking about it. Like Michael
Yeah.
Sutton has even reported like hard R Disney stuff, like Deadpool, The Punisher.
Well, that I know on
Yeah.
we've talked about that, but I mean for this, which is going to be out in like what, a couple weeks.
So I don't know how hard R that's going to be, but this could be intense action. But yeah, we'll see. Moving on from there, Omega Supreme with Cheese says an angle for damages, referring to Gina Carano's termination, is that her own agents dropped her. That is a clear line tied to firing. Her Shapiro money won't be anywhere near Star Wars.
Well, if she's the
We'll
producer
see.
of the movie,
No. I
Well,
don't know. I
yeah.
think that she's gonna be much more involved in this. And the first one is probably about give it 2-3 movies down the line if successful. And
Yeah,
in terms of like power, stature, I think this is better than the Star Wars deal.
yeah. Because I
Which
mean,
is-
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say she's already done Star Wars now. It's already on her resume. It's there. She was the most popular human character. It was her face that flew off shelves. She's done that
Mhm.
already, and now she can move on and do bigger and better stuff. I think that in the short term, yeah, it's going to be less money. In the longer term, I think it's going to be more money and more prestige.
Yeah, I think should be just fine. I don't even remember what I was going to say now. Anyway,
It's
so
gonna be
yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be fine. And
And
I
that-
just looked it
it
up to
just-
make sure I hadn't heard it wrong, but it does say here the show received, I'm talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, the show received a 16 plus rating, the television equivalent of a film R rating.
Huh, not bad. I'm
I mean, it
impressed.
looks fun.
So what's good is they're going someplace different. They took it somewhere else. They're like, let's go over here. Let's try something a little more edgy. Let's try something a little harder.
too bad
Yeah.
they fucked up all the good
Yeah.
work they had.
I
Yeah,
know,
too
but
bad.
again, I
Too
don't
bad.
blame the guys that probably made this thing in a bubble in their own.
No,
thing. They're
I
trying to
mean,
get it
and I
out,
have a hard
you know.
time trying to not blame people on the other side, but I mean, a message has to be sent to Disney Plus at the same time, in my opinion. So again, and this is just me and my position.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then David Perry says, I hate how Hollywood thinks they can buy success instead of cultivating creativity. Yeah. Nova Zero says, I think he meant cash grab by Cecil. What's going to happen is that Cecil will get cancelled and Tom will be cast as Cecil. And on that note, Al Manuel
Hello.
0311 says even confirms that he says, no, I mean Cecil's comic cash grab, because now they can produce Comicsgate comics to movies. Hail Comicsgate. Yes, fine. Sorry for misunderstanding, but yeah, you walked right into that one, didn't you? But anyway, yes, that's what I mean.
Why do you think I've been practicing the Cecil voice?
that this is Comicsgate movie version. In that sense, I agree that it's cash grab, not just in the literal sense. And William Santiago says for $10, is this the Cleopatra moment of our current Hollywood? Tom?
You know what? That's an interesting thing. Cleopatra was when Hollywood was so out of touch and so top heavy that they ended up having to sell Century City, what now is Century City, in order to pay for Cleopatra. And underneath it, out came Easy Rider and all these other little indie films that resonated with people.
And
I do think we hit a Cleopatra moment, frankly, the combination of what happened, last year, but also things like social media and the kind of sharp divisions that are happening. It is a Cleopatra moment because never before in history has there been such access to technology and to audiences, and so unnecessary for Hollywood. And yet Hollywood has been spending more money than ever to try and insulate or guarantee somehow that their film is going to do well, a la Wonder Woman 1984. Hey, if we spend $200 million, we know it's going to be good, is the mentality. And that's not true anymore. You can have a little film come up and make a ton of money, and it has access and they're not needed. That is their Cleopatra moment.
Yeah, and that goes to what I was saying earlier, because Cleopatra, even though that's the example used, that was the film that just everybody, but it was the movies like Easy Rider and stuff like that that were coming in and was proving that you could make a big, huge move, you know, a lot of money on a movie that didn't cost shit to make. And Cleopatra was, you know, the opposite of that, which was this big, huge, bloated film. And yeah,
Right.
it did make money at the time, but it didn't do nearly as well as they were hoping. And to me, right now, our Cleopatra is actually probably The Rise of Skywalker. Like, that is kind of like, it still made $1 billion, but it was
yeah. And it was machined. It was machined in such a way that they're like, this is just a guaranteed formula to make it work, and it just doesn't work. And
the Joker made more.
Yeah,
Joker was the easy rider. Yes, Joker was the easy rider of this generation, and that's what thing I think is going to be the template. Is people are going to look at the Joker, and even like the lower level, like we can do this stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised. You know, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anybody. Polly was going to say something too here.
No, please go for it. Go.
No. I'm done. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I already stopped thinking.
I know. I do that to myself.
I know.
No,
you guys bring up good points, and I really hope it is a watershed moment. And you know, I get really, you know, burn Hollywood, burn.
Yeah. Now, the next couple of movies I make, I want to be able to take directly out to people that like people like this audience right here and just go, hey, I made this for, you know, fans like us and people that enjoy this kind of thing. Hopefully I got close to what I was trying to make. You put it out, and I may not need the Hollywood system to do it, which is even better.
Exactly.
Tom, I need to get you and Gary together, and we're going to make a Rubber Monster movie. You just wait.
Oh, I would love that. I have a script, actually.
Oh, I got my own ideas too, but there you go.
Well,
2 for the price of 1.
Let's do it.
And Scott83 says for $24.99. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And he says, really enjoying your live stream. Disney lost me as a fan and subscriber yesterday. Daily Wire got my membership today. Gina will only become more powerful. That's what I think too.
Mm-hmm.
Ron W. says, I hear worried right-wing movies. The problem is if Commando, Predator, or Die Hard was made today, it would be considered right-wing. Oh, I'll do you one better. I will say this. If every single classic movie of the 80s, every last one of them, like every last one, if they were released today, every classic from the 80s and 90s would be considered right-wing. Every last one of them.
Right. And so that's the fallacy.
Is Red October. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if a movie come out right now and was exactly like Predator, it would be called right-wing, but you could argue that it isn't, because a lot of those films they may, because of today's standards, that's why. But I don't feel like there's any kind of preaching in those movies that are all like
isn't.
Not at all.
There
not
isn't.
at all.
What you have, there's no preaching, but there's the absence of propaganda in them, and what they ultimately have, it's a resourceful individual that through determination has to beat the opposition. And because of the Cold War, there was kind of like an anti-communist flair, which made the movies even more like individual focused, which again, by modern standards, would make them right-wing. Every last one, even the innocent comedies.
Yeah, you got a point there, and that's what I was saying. Like it would be like this. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and what's great about it is that you got Bill Duke in it, you got Carl Weathers in it, you got Schwarzenegger in it, you've got Shane Black, you've got all these great people. John McTiernan directing it. None of them were identified as, well, here's my black soldier or here's my straight soldier. It's like it's guys, a believable team dropped into a jungle fighting against an enemy that's hunting them when they're used to being the hunter. And that's it. That's it. And it's a brilliant film. It's crafted. It is supposed to be a roller coaster. It's supposed to be, I look at that film for timing and editing and just pacing, and it's perfect. It just twists the thing just up and up and up, and that's why it works.
But I do remember, a lot of Reagan stuff being thrusted upon, like Rambo and Mission Missing in Action, and a lot of those kind of movies in the 80s. And I think wrongfully so in some ways.
Okay, just Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2, the original Ghostbusters by modern standards is right wing.
Oh yeah,
because it's about entrepreneurs starting a business and fighting the authorities imposing restrictions on them. That too is right wing by modern standards. I say every last classic from the 80s. Every single one, even the comedies, by modern standards, would be considered right-wing. And I think that
And
Daily
criticized.
Wire is going to try to make movies like that.
Like that, yeah. They come out
Yeah.
with their own Die Hard, or they come out with their own Predator, and you can
Or
draw
their own
which one.
Police Academy, or their own
Ghostbusters. Whatever they want to do. Come out with stripes.
It doesn't have to be like the Reagan thing. It just has to be like that. Individuals facing opposition. That's like the key focus, and void of agenda. Those two things, by modern standards, would make it right wing.
That's true. The Ghostbusters would be what's four straight guys trying to capitalize on the supernatural and not respecting the ghosts.
Yeah, not respecting. Yeah, exactly.
No, and you're right, Max. RoboCop would never be made today because the companies that RoboCop is making fun of bought the film companies. No, they would not have.
It would never happen.
Yeah,
Never.
Yeah, no, it's a movie that's anti-big tech.
Yeah.
And not
It's
just
a satire.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of messages. Not only that, it's like, privatization of, prisons.
All of those
Police
things,
force,
all the
all
things that
that
are
shit,
standard right now. That's what I mean.
There's also-
Every single classic movie that we will list as a classic that, by modern standards,
They would have a
Alright,
problem.
RoboCop
Yeah.
was a warning, guys. RoboCop is basically an analogy for us turning into our phones.
Okay, I will. To be clear, RoboCop is a ripoff of Judge Dredd, and Judge
some ways,
Dredd is the real warning. Because if you
Well-
read the Judge Dredd comics, and I'm talking about the comics now, because RoboCop the movie predates any Judge Dredd movie. But here's
All right, well,
the
here's
thing.
a stream
The
that
history of how RoboCop was made. When I tell you it's a Judge Dredd ripoff, it's literally it started out as a Judge Dredd movie that got morphed into RoboCop. So all of that social satire that you see in RoboCop the movie is inherited from when it was Judge Dredd.
Fair
Every
enough,
last
but
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
willing to feel like I want to. Okay, we're gonna do some kind of challenge here, Andre. You're gonna set me up with some Judge Dredd comics, and then we're gonna sit down. We're gonna watch RoboCop again, and we're gonna have a stream one of these days, and we're just gonna talk about if you're right or not, or if I
Happy to.
feel like RoboCop has enough merit on its own to not be seen in that light. I guess.
Happy to. How about the ones where Judge
I'm not
Dredd
saying
says
you're
the
wrong.
lines? Where he says the lines, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me."
Yeah, but see, that could be. Yeah, that's not what I'm getting at, though, and I get where you're coming from as far as that part. But like, I feel like there's a much
Or the news reports.
yeah, okay, but no, I feel like there's a much deeper message in RoboCop that got integrated.
Of course, there's a different message in there as well.
That's what I'm
Obviously,
saying. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's, without even reading all the comics you're talking about, because I'm aware of it. I know the movies and I know the character and I know some of the ins and outs, but I've never really sat down and read a lot of, Dredd comics or anything. But I'm just curious to see, because if you're right or if not, I feel like RoboCop is just one of those things where I can argue it's a perfect fucking movie.
yeah,
Like,
I
I
agree. It's a great. I'm not saying that, and Verhoeven brought a lot to it. He absolutely did. But the starting point was Judge Dredd.
No, and I'm not arguing with you there at all.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's obvious. I could even see it. But like, to me, I mean, because I have my top 10 films, which Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, but RoboCop is in there. Besides that, like, and to me, RoboCop is one of those movies where it's like, when I say a perfect fucking movie, it's like Back to the Future, Jaws, RoboCop. Those are perfect fucking movies. You can't find a flaw in them, at least to me, that is arguable enough.
Like, the funny thing is that when the project morphed from Judge Dredd to RoboCop, which happened in a really down and dirty, nasty way. But when that happened, one of the justifications was that this is a way to humanify him. So RoboCop is more human than Judge Dredd.
Well, see, that's where I think the difference in the message maybe come in. Because when I say RoboCop is basically us on our cell phones, I mean that. Like, it is about the privatization of all these things that we would normally see as, either public or whatever. And not only that, a reflection of the society we become. Everything we do is corporatized. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like every single thing, like what we're doing right now on here on this platform is exactly it. Like, I mean, it's I think it's much, much deeper than a lot of people give it credit for. And what about RoboCop 2? Well, RoboCop 2 has some different messages, and I'm not saying RoboCop 2 is a bad movie. I'll actually argue with some people it's a good movie, but we need to move on with super chats. So,
Yes, we do. Next one is but before that, Paulie has to check out. So I just want to say
no problem,
thank you
Paulie. Thanks
for joining us.
Hey,
Yeah.
Polly, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, you as well, man. Thanks a lot. This was
I'm
great.
sure you'll be talking to him a little more.
Yeah, let's keep in touch, Polly, and maybe we'll collaborate on something.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Everyone have a good day. Andre in the chat. And you can catch me later on tonight after Friday Night Tights. Before Doomcock, I'm going to do a little show with Mexican Iron Man.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'll try and catch
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Andre.
Don't forget, I'll be on with you tomorrow as well, talking about movies to lose friends by.
That's right. That's right. Noon Pacific here on the Latino Slant. So good stuff, man. Thanks so much. I'm excited. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care.
Peace.
And Nis Anason says, I'm happy Gina got another gig, but how does this solve the issues of politics and entertainment? Well, by providing a very big, viable alternative. So it doesn't solve it, but it's a step in the right direction. And 487 Sean Towers says, for $5 Canadian, dream movie, Johnny Depp, Kevin Sorbo, Gina Carano, Clint Eastwood directing a sci-fi adventure Stargirl. Oh my God, I'm there.
There you go.
You know, that could happen. And Rob Altis says, between ME, FNT, and FNF, my Friday is awesome.
Awesome.
And Tom's Friday is long.
Yes, and I have a lot of stuff. I don't know how I'm going to cram it all into today. I did not expect this to go this long. I thought this was going to be one of our shorter ones this week.
Yeah, I thought so too, but
Well,
then this happened. So yeah, we'll break it into 3 separate parts for the archives. So
Perfect.
yeah. And Will Gentry says, for reference, I had written out that super chat when you showed up. Hence, and Tom, LOL. Great stream last night. So many greats in one place.
I knew it. As soon as he said Will Gentry, I knew you were just giving me a hard time. No worries, buddy. No worries.
And Jonathan Encarnacion sent us a $5 super chat with no message, so maybe it got removed, but thanks anyway. And Omega Supreme with cheese says, embrace becoming a ghettoized culture. You've got gay dating apps, farmers, religious, etc. Slowly, social media, next movie houses, and entire networks. Now we'll see what happens. And MT says, for 10 Australian dollars, thank you so much. Seeing you're not Disney, have some money. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And Andres Fernandez sends us $100 Argentinian and says, hello all. Doesn't Kathleen Kennedy failure seem obvious to everyone? Clearly for Disney it'd have to be. She can't handle the movies unless a company like Lucasfilm. How can she still be there? Or because she's a woman and she's unfireable, but they know that she's dropped the ball completely. This is an open secret within Hollywood. Isn't it, Tom?
Oh yeah, look how many directors have made a movie and then been let go. You have Solo, Rogue One. There's been chaos with the trilogy. They didn't even have the third one written. There's clearly some creative problems at the top.
Yeah, indeed. And again, this is an open secret. Everyone knows. But still, it's a matter of saving face. So I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that's where we are. Yeah. Film Lars sends us 200 Danish krone, 1000 takk, and he says, hail good people. Here's some money to fight the bad guys. Cheers from Copenhagen. Well, thank you, Copenhagen. And Drive by Commenter says for $10, TBH, Star Wars has been milked heavily. There's still room for growth in the space fantasy genre. More speculative fiction has tended towards Lord of the Rings or Trek influences. Yeah, there is growth. We'll see what happens going forward. And KitKat says for £5 this is a step towards getting pop culture back to what people actually want and will embrace, so that it actually is popular culture. Yes, I think so too. And Sean says, imagine this: Jawbreakers versus Cyberfrog by the Daily Wire starring Gina Carano, based on the comics by EVS and Richard C. Meyer. That is the perfect symbolic equivalent of what I think is happening right now.
Mhm.
And Stephen Otten says, hard R action won't matter for me. As much as I was looking forward to the Marvel shows, Disney has burned too many bridges. Hard pass. And Nelson Chereta says, if you can't win, KK, if you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. OB Gina. Yeah, that's a nice quote to put into Gina right there. That she has now become more powerful than ever, and with that, we are fully caught up. So, with that, I would also like to say thank you to Tom Conkle for joining us.
Thank you, Andre. I always enjoy coming onto the show and giving my perspectives, and I think you're doing a very valuable thing in having this conversation.
Thank you for being here. And we also
Thank
want to
you,
thank
Tom.
Pauly for hopping in. And yesterday we had the auditor on, or at least it seems and feels like it was yesterday when we started the stream. Do check that out. I'm sure we'll cut that out as its own separate thing.
Yes, we'll put that up as a separate thing, but
More
also
work
on
for
that
me.
note, be sure to go and check out Hellraiser Judgment,
Yes.
the movie by Gary J. Tunnicliffe. Now, I know that many Hellraiser sequels are a bit so-so, but this one is actually pretty unique. And that's why we have chosen to cover it the way that we did. We never got anything for it. We just saw the movie, and we thought it was really cool. And everything kind of like spiraled from there. So also check out the coverage of Hellraiser.
Don't worry about
Judgment.
seeing a bunch of the sequels if you haven't either. You can just kind of
You can go straight into Judgment and you'll be fine.
As long as you've seen like the first one or first two, maybe even.
Even that ain't so important.
No, it's not
good if
really.
you've seen the first one, but even without that, you'll be fine. Oh yeah, Broken Prophet says get Doomcock and the Auditor together. That would be fun.
That'd be interesting.
That would be amazing.
That would be something.
But all right, so yes, kids, it sounds like Friday Night Tights will be starting a little early here soon. So those of you, it looks like we've already got a few of you probably heading on over there. So tell everybody we sent you there. And
also Mr. H Reviews. He's also streaming right now and talking about the Gina Carano situation. I might drop over and join him.
I'm not going to be able to
for a few minutes at least. So yeah, go over and check out Mr. H Reviews for the other stuff begins. Say hi and say that we sent him.
You got a little bit before Friday Night Tights, so head on over to Mr. H's first. I would like to pop in, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the time. I want to, but I got shit I got to do.
Mr. H is great.
Friday Night Tights either, because I'm not even on there till later on. So, all right, kids. Till next time, check out Tom's movie. Check out all the people we've had on the show, and we will see you on the flip side. #